In a world where dreams meet reality, there exists a place where your business can flourish. That place is Shopify. Imagine having the power to craft your online store with tools that make it as easy as a gentle breeze. Whether you're an artisan of handmade wonders, a creator of digital treasures, or a curator of the latest trends, Shopify stands by your side. With its customizable templates, seamless integrations, and support that's always there, your dream store is just a heartbeat away. Join millions of visionaries around the globe and let Shopify guide you on your journey. Visit roguemedianetwork.com/Shopify. That's roguemedianetwork.com/SHOPIFY. And embark on your free trial. Shopify, where your commerce dreams come to life. You just found the perfect product that helps with staying cool during hot summer runs. No more gross warm water. Stay cool with this product from Gear Handle. This hydration tube cover helps keep your water cool and easily accessible. Stay hydrated during those long summer runs or even delay from freezing in the winter. Plus, they're compatible with various brands of water bladders and come in various colors. Visit gearhandle.com and use promo code H2O today. This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
BooBaes. BooBaes.
Hi.
Hello and welcome to
BooBaes.
BooBaes. That's right. We're your hosts. I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Joshua.
And today we're here to talk to you about a cult classic.
Cult classic, yeah.
Yeah.
The Evil Dead.
The Evil Dead, 1981.
Directed by Sam Raimi. The one and only, who's kind of, garnered himself a name in the horror genre, of course, because, this movie and then a few other movies to boot.
To boot.
And, it's very much, I watched it 10 years ago, so this was kind of like a fresh rewatch for me as well. Like, I kind of forgot. I mean, not forgot the bulk of it, but like all those little details in between, the main storylines.
Yeah. Turns out I've never watched this film.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. But you thought you did, right?
I wasn't sure.
Okay.
Once I saw The Evil Dead Rise, I was like, you know what? I don't think I've seen The Evil Dead
at all.
And then I was like, and once I watched this today, I was like, I've definitely not seen this.
Yeah.
I would remember this.
The whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like rides a fine line of almost being comedic, campy,
yes.
because of how not menacing the Deadites, as they're called.
Deadites?
Deadites, yeah.
Oh.
that's what they're called
I
in
didn't know that was what
the
they
universe
were called.
of Evil Dead. But
because they kept calling them Kandarian demons in the movie, or something like that.
Yeah,
I have the actual word written down, but I don't remember if it's actually Kandarian.
Oh, something like that. I remember it like that.
Yeah.
Because it was like a Sumatran or whatever. Sumerian, yeah.
Yeah, ancient Sumerian thing.
Not context. What's the thing? No, maybe I'm thinking.
Conduit.
No, but it was, because it was a conduit. No, like a text. I don't know why I'm trying to put the con in front of it. My bad. I'm just thinking of text, the word text, like just the text of like the actual book.
What's that called? Content of...
Table of contents?
Table of contents. At the beginning of a book.
There you go.
I was just trying to help you out, and then I made it worse.
It's okay. It's all of that wrapped into one thing. But yeah, it's...
Could you imagine if the... what's it called? Necronomicon?
The Necronomicon. Just
had
the
a
name
table
itself.
of contents. Turn to page
possession.
81 for getting your soul ripped out.
Yeah. And well, in watching, because I have seen, I don't think we watched The Evil Dead Rise.
Yes.
And I don't believe you watched the 2013 remake of The Evil Dead.
No.
Which is just called Evil Dead.
Because I almost accidentally bought that one.
Okay.
Instead.
Today. Gotcha.
And then I realized it said 2013 and I was like, oh, fuck. I forgot there was a remake.
Yeah.
Because I was watching it and I was like, this trailer is actually pretty good. I was like, this
can't be from 1981.
I was like, this looks way better than the 80s.
Yeah.
Should have. And then
you recognize
I realized,
actors or
no, I didn't recognize anyone. Not that I remember, but I all of a sudden saw the 2013 and I was like, oh fuck. Right. And so then I had to, it wasn't on a lot of things. It was only on Amazon.
Yeah, same. That's how I found it.
And so
How to rent
I was
it.
looking up originally on Apple TV. And that's
and
where
that,
I almost
that takes
got
you
it.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you look up stuff on Apple TV.
But the Apple TV only had the 2013. And so I had to go find it on Prime and whatever. I did that. But it took a while and I almost watched the wrong movie.
Quite a bit.
Yeah. Would have been bad.
They're just like,
but I definitely haven't seen 2013 either.
And it's more of like it took creative liberties and differences, and it's like a verbatim exact remake of that one. But in watching that, it really just makes this one look a little bit less of quality. But obviously, because it was made such a long time ago on a low budget, that's just it is what it is. The budget for The Evil Dead was $375,000, which kind of sounds like a lot, but for filmmaking, that's not a lot of money at all. That's like barely a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and which it ended up making, initially at first 2.7 million, back in the box offices, I guess. And then up to date overall, nowadays it's made over 29.4 million.
Nice.
So, I mean, that's a pretty big return.
Yeah.
And it's become such a cult
nothing.
classic, but yeah, I watched it, like I said, 10 years ago, and in this rewatch, I don't even remember it looking so outdated. But it kind of does.
It looked really, because I mean, we've seen plenty of movies from the 80s and 70s even that have held up better.
Yeah.
But again, they had a bigger budget and could do more things and hire better makeup artists and stuff like that.
And this was Sam Raimi's first, it was his directorial debut. So I'm sure at that point, you're up and coming. You don't have the backing of like a big, heavy producing studio, to give you all that. So it really did what it could. It said, I'm reading here that they started this with potential investors and only secured $90,000. So in starting, already in production, they only started with $90,000, and then they somehow got to the 375 by the time they were done.
Damn.
Yeah. So that was really
asking for chump change.
Yeah, but it's a triumph.
Yeah.
And so do you want to dive into The Evil Dead?
Yes.
Oh, and I guess we should have started with some warning, trigger warning, because there is, I guess, a scene in the film where it simulates
sexual assault.
Yeah, exactly. SA. Against Cheryl.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cheryl.
In the woods. So yeah, just if that's something that might bother you, maybe don't listen to this episode. Catch us again next week.
Or just, whenever we get to that point, we'll say skip ahead 30 seconds or
there
something like that.
Yeah, that'll work. And so we are starting off with the title card pretty off the bat with The Evil Dead. And we're getting this kind of POV shot of what is the evil, essentially, I guess.
Yeah, like running through the forest. The moment I saw it, I go, okay, yep, this one's the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
Because
this is right.
I wasn't sure. I was like, I am in the right film now.
And then, it's really funny that we covered Jaws last week, and then Psycho was before that. And we have a movie that, yet again, relies heavily on POV shots.
Yeah. Oh,
so I thought that was pretty cool.
That is cool. We planned it.
Yeah, we sure did.
Totally meant to do that.
Can't wait for y'all to see what we do next week. Anyways. And so we're immediately introduced to our gang. They're in a car. They're on their way. They're all just kind of singing Miss, what's her name?
Shelly.
Shelly. Yeah, she's the one
It took me
singing in the front
so long
to get everybody's names.
names.
Because they don't really say them at the beginning too much.
Yeah, the only two that they like concretely say is
Scotty and Ashley.
Yeah, well, and Ashley's I didn't even get until after Cheryl had already gone outside. I got Cheryl's and Scotty's name, and then Linda whenever he asked for the flashlight. But then I forgot her name and kept referring to her as Michigan State
because of her
that's
shirt.
what her sweater said.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of moments where it wasn't until later on where I was like, and it's because they're like screaming at them, and it's not even like just using their name casually. It's like, oh, it's because someone's getting attacked
Scotty,
by this person.
Scotty.
Yeah.
Scotty.
Or that.
Yeah, you can't miss it.
So yeah, we're all in the car. It seems like we're going on a vacation or something because we're trying to find where we're going on a map, which talk about like, damn, I couldn't imagine having to rely on a map. My map skills are non-existent.
Oh yeah, no.
I even can't follow sometimes the map on my GPS.
Yeah.
And it's literally telling me where to go.
Maps, and then they were on like back roads too, which
for sure.
not even major highways. Because if it's one thing to get on a major highway and then like where 175 miles of your trip are all on that same road and you don't turn, but
it's a little road. There's a left, there's a right. Maybe there's a bend here, or there's a fork.
Or there's something that's not notated on the map.
Yeah, because they can be outdated.
Yeah.
And something that is not on the map is the incoming vehicle that I guess they're not paying attention to because they're trying to find where they're going.
Scotty's got his head turned around into the back seat, like being like, "Where are we going?" Blah blah, and he's not paying attention to what's in front of him.
Yeah, which I don't know if intentionally was like, is that already like a foreshadowing of like evil is afoot? Like,
yeah, I think because the evil, all the while, like, so you're getting that POV shot of the evil coming through the woods, and then you're getting the shots of the car and the teenagers driving, and then you're getting the shots of the big red truck coming that way, and it's flashing in between the evil, the red truck, the car, and it keeps flashing in between them until all of a sudden it gets to that high point where the cars are about to hit each other. And even Scotty makes a comment saying something about the steering wheel got stuck. I think the evil planned it to happen. Yeah, I think
that's
it was
what
intentional.
It felt like as well.
Yeah, I don't think that was pure accident. I think the evil was well timed and got in there right in the nick of time to try to really fuck them over.
Ash even said, I just got it tuned up yesterday. They said everything would be good. So it has to be more of like a supernatural element that's kind of taking over
with the car. Yeah.
And after they're almost running with the truck and they're all kind of like, freaked out. What
so
Scotty?
dramatic.
So very dramatic. That didn't even happen.
Shelly in the front seat going like,
yeah. All of the girls acting is very over the top and dramatic.
Yes.
Even the guys, even Ash, like at certain points when they're really focusing on him, watching what's going on, and he's just making all these faces.
There was one point towards the end of the film whenever he closed the door and then goes, he like turns his head so dramatically in the direction of the camera and was like looking off for something. But that was mainly probably one of the few times where Ash's acting was like, okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, he was the best by far by everybody.
Yeah. Played by Bruce Campbell.
There, and he really has cemented himself in later, what's the word?
Later in
legacy.
His career?
Well, in the legacy with this, in the movie and everything. But everyone else was just kind of over the top at a lot of points. I was writing like, okay, this is a lot. Like you're overselling it. Yeah. Or just even I think Cheryl at one point when she's outside and they're trying to get to that bridge, and she's just like, they're not gonna let us leave.
Yeah,
and
when she's like flopping, her legs like come up and stuff too. I was like, girl, what are you, like a mermaid or something? Get off the ground.
The worm.
What are you doing?
But yeah, so they start. Scotty starts honking. There's some weird people that are just waving, off the side of the road.
Just little old nice people.
Yeah, so they're talking about the place that they're staying, and they're like, yeah, we got it for cheap. It's so funny how like things never change because like telling you why, like if I saw like. Yep, $69 for the whole weekend. Let's do it. And then we find out, we come like, oh, someone was murdered here.
It's cursed.
Literally. But they got a deal. And so and even one of the girls was like, watch it be like a pit or something like that, or like something's wrong with it. It's a dump. And so they get there. Before they get there, they start to see a bridge and they're going to cross it, but it's like what's run down, rickety. Yeah. And so
it says, it's got a big old sign that says like cross at your own risk, maximum of 3 tons,
which is a ton is 2,000 pounds. So that's 6,000
and cars weigh a lot.
I wonder how much that car was.
I don't know. They were built like
they're actual metal, I believe, back in the day, not just plastic.
Yeah.
So,
but I have no clue how much car weighs, and filled with also 5 people.
That's true.
Or 4. No, 5
Well, let's
people.
just say that they did exceed the limit because the tire goes through at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is pretty scary. If I was on a bridge and that happens, I'd be terrified.
I would know. I would be freaking. No, absolutely not. Be getting out of the car, and I'd be walking back to the way that we came.
It's kind of
I'm not
already
getting trapped
like
on the other side.
That, and that's kind of like a sign that like we probably shouldn't be going this way.
Yeah.
Some divine intervention, whether it was evil or good, was just like, stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so maybe that was even like a warning. Like they got like evil, just like, hey.
It's almost like it's reminding me of Cabin in the Woods.
Tried to tell
you.
you.
This is our harbinger of death.
Of death. Yeah. That's how I even almost felt about those people that were waving. I was just like, they're saying like, sayonara.
Sayonara.
Sayonara, my bad. Sayonara.
Sayonara. See you never.
For real. And so they end up getting over the bridge somehow. The car makes it, and then they get to the cabin, and
they aren't even driving on a road at this point too.
Oh yeah.
Like what they were driving on was just looked like a path in the woods, and I was like a
game trail.
Yeah. It was very sketch.
And
very
and what Scott even made a comment of like, that bridge is solid as a rock, and it was not solid at all.
They're like, we're fine. And then Ash pops his head out and he's like, well,
yeah,
we're not fine.
Gas it.
Yeah.
And so at that point, because of the way that the camera's even following them, it feels already as if like some inconspicuous, some evil is already like something's watching them. Yeah. And that's so actually, kudos to him as a director, because the way he uses his camera really makes it feel like that song. I always feel like that part.
Somebody's watching me.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they end up getting there. They're all getting out. There's this like swinging porch thing.
Porch swing.
A porch swing. I said that backwards, but yeah. And it's moving already on its own. So that's like giving you creep vibes. Either ghost spirits.
I liked the way that it because the soundtrack at this point I didn't mind. You can tell the soundtrack budget was real small. Because it sounded, I feel like I've heard high school bands play better stuff than that. But the soundtrack in this moment was good. Yeah. And you can get this like overlapping thumping coming through, and I was like, what is that? Because I was like, it's too intentional and too rhythmic to not be like something.
Yeah.
And then it explains it with the porch swing just slamming into the side of the house, which you can assume is wind. You could write it off as wind, but with it going as hard and as exact as it was,
in a very syncopated pace. And then it's funny because Scotty then reaches to grab the keys that people keep on the ledge on top of a door. And as soon as he grabs them, it stops.
Yeah.
Like
all of a sudden it's like, bloop.
Not a slowdown, like just like stops.
The swing
in its
is
tracks.
like somebody held it and stopped it. Yeah. Very, very creepy. Also, this place is a shack.
Oh yeah.
It's not a cabin.
Not necessarily a cabin at all.
It just looks like a shack. From the outside. It's kind of like Doctor Who, bigger on the inside.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Some TARDIS technology happening.
Halloween Town.
Yes.
Yeah.
Granny's purse.
And the bedroom and the houses and stuff. But he ends up going inside. We're opening the door and we can see that this place is also really dusty, really old.
It looked like smoke.
Yeah, it did.
Which it probably was.
I'm sure. Yeah, for dramatic effect.
Yeah, they used it. They used smoke.
So many points that you could tell that it was just like a baby smoke as well. It was just like it wasn't even like an all-encompassing like fog. It was just like.
It was one smoke machine that they had, fog machine. Is it would go up over the moon every time too.
Oh yeah.
Every single shot outside, all of a sudden the moon got encompassed by this.
That's not
smoke.
a cloud.
Yeah. No. It's just massive fog rolling in every single time.
And we're getting introduced what is essentially our sixth main character of the film, the cabin itself. Right, because there's 5 people. Yeah, 5 people. Well, I guess the Necronomicon would be the 6th, so this is the 7th. And he goes into like, is it like a shed or other part of it that has like all this stuff dangling, and it looks like
I was just like, I called it the weird meat hook room.
Yeah, essentially.
Thing. It kind of
chainsaw.
They weren't meat hooks, but yes, it reminded me of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yeah.
And it just looked like
almost like the bird room.
It looked nefarious. It looked like bad things happen in this room.
Oh yeah, it did not look like a safe or cozy place to be. Yeah. It looked like something very dangerous happens there, and I would not want to be in there. Also, I would see that room and go, "Okay, nope, we're turning around."
Yeah, that's creepy.
Actually, I'd probably see the shack and say,
"Nah." No. I mean, that's a hard pass. But it was also the '80s, and they're like young college age kids. What we're supposed to be is like 18, 19, 20-year-old. I don't know. I did some like questionable things when I was that age.
Not certain how old they were.
They look a lot older than what I feel like
they were meant to be.
Yeah, for sure.
I think they were probably in college. But
and so they are well, because her thing, her shirt, remember? That while Scott is checking the place out, Ash and the girls are like getting everything out of the car. They're unpacking essentially. And then it just kind of fast forwards to more evening time, and we have is it Cheryl that's drawing? Cheryl. She's sitting there
drawing
she's a really good artist.
Clock on the wall. Yeah. And the clock is chiming. It's not quite a grandfather clock, but it's one of those ones that has a little dangle thing.
Yeah, I don't know what that's called actually.
Yeah, because it's not an arm of the clock. I don't know. It's like a little ticker.
Is it a bell?
I don't know.
It's not a bell. The ones that go,
it chimes.
Ding dong every hour.
Ding dong, the witch is dead.
The witch is dead. Ding dong, something.
Yeah.
Or I like the one from Shrek with Lord Quarfod or whatever, and Farquaad, and they all come out and they're like little things.
Oh yes.
Or that's just like their welcoming thing.
That's a cuckoo clock.
That's a cuckoo clock.
Yeah. Whenever they come out.
Yeah, that's true. Clapping little cymbals, people.
Like the little monkeys.
And so she's drawing the clock, and essentially, this is where the soundtrack plays heavy into it, because you're hearing like the ominous, music behind it, and then the clock ticking itself. And then she's hearing at this point stuff outside, and then is this where she starts hearing the voices like "join us" or something?
I don't think she hears "join us" yet.
Okay.
But the clock's chiming, and then all of a sudden it stops working once it chimes on. I think it was like maybe 6:66 or something. Well, it can't get to that, but that's what my immediate thought was too.
Yeah.
But then I was like, no, there's only 60 minutes in an hour. But the clock stops working. This big gust of wind comes in. And then all of a sudden she's like being forced to draw.
It felt like her hand was possessed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It was like almost like something was taking her arm, just squeezing it and making her draw through her little notepad.
Because she definitely wasn't, she was like freaked out.
Yeah.
She was like, oh my God.
And it makes her draw Doodle Bob. That's exactly what it looked like.
Yeah, it really did.
Is that Doodle Bob?
It was really bad, especially because you could tell she's a good artist by drawing that clock.
Yeah.
But yeah, the demon was just like, here we go.
Demon's not a good artist.
My best interpretation of the book.
This is the book.
Yeah. And so it's funny though too, because like all this is happening to her, right? And then like it just fast forwards to dinner time, but I guess she didn't tell. Oh, and she also saw the cellar door flapping open a little bit, like kind of bumping up.
That's right. I was like, oh good, a chained up basement rattling. That seems really nice.
Really embracing.
I think she did tell them, because once they're at dinner, they're all they make a few jokes at her or something, being like, there's nothing, like, come on. And then like once it actually opens later, they're like, I guess it's still down there.
An animal or something.
Yeah. So, but this next shot here, I really liked with the blender.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I thought it was a nice little transition, like harsh cut to
that's true.
Something that's kind of loud and startling.
For like a student film, it's artistic. Like, it was pretty creative.
I thought it was
not just like here we are, fade to black and fade to a new scene.
Exactly. Yeah. I thought it was a nice transition, and with the color of the red of whatever the hell they were drinking, it was like sangria smoothie or something.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know, because she was pouring I don't know.
It was like a deep red, and they poured it into
Probably
cups.
some fruits. Yeah.
So
who knows?
it looked maybe refreshing, but it also looked like
chunky.
blood.
Mm-hmm.
So she blends that up. They pour it all out, and they're all sitting there talking around the dinner table.
Mm-hmm. It's toasting time.
Yeah, Ash gives some sort of speech.
Yeah.
That seemed probably offensive nowadays.
Everything nowadays is offensive, but I can see why. And he's giving his speech. They're having their little moment, but then as soon as they're doing all that, or after he's doing all that, in the middle of his midst of it, the cellar door just swings open.
Yeah.
And they're all like, "Oh, what was that?" And it very fast, like they go over to it, and they're just like, "Well, what could it be?" I think Cheryl's the one was like, "It's an animal or something. Something's down there."
Yeah. And this is where they're all being like, "Well, maybe it is still down there."
Mm-hmm.
And then Scotty's like laughing in her face.
Mm-hmm.
He's
You
like,
go check it out.
Yeah, and he's like, "Yeah, it's an animal doing this." Like, no, this isn't an animal.
Like, what would he?
But also, what else would it be?
But he's also he plays that role of like he's a douche.
Yeah, he is a douchebag.
I don't know if he's supposed to be like the jock or like the very macho like whatever type of man. Because Ash definitely is more like he gives sensitive, like caring for everybody. Like later on, like shouldn't you help people out?
Cabin in the Woods really followed Evil Dead pretty damn closely. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of it was reminding me of Cabin in the Woods.
Very much with the book and then everything and then them. Yeah. A lot of inspiration. That's one of his favorite horror movies, The Cabin in the Woods.
I really liked it a lot.
And so let's just talk about that. I'm just kidding.
Cabin in the Woods. It's been a second now.
And so Scotty goes down there. He goes to check, but as soon as he goes down there, and then like it takes him a while to respond, and then Ash starts to like call out his name, and he's not responding, and then his girlfriend Shelly is like, well, he's just goofing around or something, or someone says like he's just goofing around. It was Shelly, right?
Right.
And so Ash is like, well, I guess I got to go down there. So he asks Linda for a flashlight, but they only had the one, and that Scott took. So he gets the lantern and he starts to go downstairs. I really like the way it was kind of shot, like him going down as well. Like I like the way the tension that it was building up and stuff.
Yeah.
But he's going down there, and it's really dark, obviously, and he's calling for Scott, but Scott isn't calling out for him.
It looks like there's blood dripping from the pipes even there. I was like, looks like blood, but it's probably just rust. I didn't know about the pipe scene later.
Okay. Yeah. No, I did. Yeah, for sure.
But I was just like,
I didn't notice that. I guess I was writing a note. But so when the blood scene pipe thing happened later, I was like, when the fuck was that? When was that a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was a scene where you could see the pipes were dripping some stuff, and it looked red, but I was like, it's probably just like rusty
water or something.
and water turning it red. And that might have been what it was in that instant, but it does.
Yeah, but later on it wasn't for sure.
Yeah, later on, no, that was blood. Everything
so much
was blood.
Also, if you have like a gore sensitivity, this might not be a good movie for you because there's so much gore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
None of the Evil Deads are good for you to watch then.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Not even the newer ones.
Yeah.
And I think, I told you about the 2013 one. It had a lot of gore in it. I felt like even more than the Evil Dead Rise.
Oh, and that one had
a lot. So much.
Had some pretty gnarly scenes.
I will say that some of the scenes in the Evil Dead Rise were when it was coming to like them and they're like whatever type of what do you call that, like stabbings and whatevers were happening. I could tell more in this one about like CGI, whereas opposed to like the 2013 one, I felt like looked more realistic. But that's what makes it like kind of hard to watch stomach sometimes because it looks so real. Yeah. Like the stuff that they do.
Like even Linda's ankle scene.
Oh yeah.
And here looked a little too real.
Oh, with her pencil and stuff. Yeah.
I was actually. Like, it made my ankle hurt.
The way the blood was coming out and stuff.
And it looked like she was like almost like digging under the bone. And the bone was kind of wiggling around. And I was like, ugh. Yeah. And then a lot of practical effects.
But
whenever Ash looks at it later and it's just that one little tiny hole, I was like, what the fuck? This thing, like, she dragged it down. She, like, tore through
the skin
tendons and stuff, like, dragged it the length of the Achilles heel. Yeah. I was like, and also I was confused as to why Linda was sleeping after that.
The way that she was sleeping throughout the entire incidents that had occurred, because there was a lot of noise going on in that house. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it was shock.
Or it could have just been like the evil taking over her already.
That's true.
And so they are, he's down there. He hears the noise behind the door, a big old door. And he starts to walk closer to it. And then I think that's what he opens the door, and then that's when Scott pops out or something.
Yeah. Scotty pops out, and he's like, boom.
And there wasn't even like anything really scary. And then Scott's just like, here, I got to come show you this.
Yeah. And is this a Hills Have Eyes poster on the wall?
Oh, was it?
I think so.
I did not notice
it said Hills and then Eyes, but it was like torn and ripped to the
It could have been. I don't know.
Because when did the original Hills Have Eyes come out?
I'll look it up because I don't remember.
Because if it is after 81, then JK. But I feel like it was earlier, wasn't it?
I feel like it was earlier. So maybe it was like a reference. Yeah. First, 1977.
77. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think it might have been a Hills Have Eyes poster on the wall, which is pretty cool.
Good little. Well, and Sam Raimi is really known for putting Easter eggs and stuff in his films. Maybe it had a heavy influence on him.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll have to look that up. But he ends up Scott showing him all the I guess the necromonic. I can't say it. Necronomicon.
Comic-Con.
And all this culty-ish whatever shit. And they bring it upstairs, of course, for everybody to see.
Yep. They also find tape recorder and then this weird like knife thing that's got like this
little skull at the end.
Person. It kind of reminds me of what's the little green guy from Ghostbusters?
Oh, I've never seen Ghostbusters.
Oh.
Are you talking about Flubber? No, I'm just kidding.
I did love Flubber.
No, I've never seen Ghostbusters. So I don't know.
That's a great movie. But I forgot the little green guy's name. Slime.
Also the 80s, right?
Slimer. Yeah.
What was he? Is he a ghost? Little green thing you're talking about?
Yeah, kind of like ectoplasm-y ghost kind of thing. And there's at one point where he like kind of bunches up, and that's how that back of the skull thing was stacked.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it reminded me of that.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, there's just one scene where it looked like that. Can we talk about how this Necronomicon is tiny?
It's tiny
in comparison to the Evil Dead Rise one.
Yeah.
Which was what I saw first, so that's my basis.
Yeah, it's really comical.
It's clearly drawn with ballpoint pen.
Yeah.
It was just pen. It didn't look like
It didn't look menacing. It didn't look anything.
I was like, this looks like a high schooler sketchbook.
It looks...
The doodles I would draw in class.
Very arts and crafts.
My parents.
Project done at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of parts, but that specifically, the book does not... they definitely soup it up. And the remakes.
They do.
Yeah.
And then the pages do look like as if they could be made of like human flesh and written in blood. Yeah. This one, because it said it was made of human flesh, but I was like, that's not. That's like craft paper. It wasn't craft paper, but
they did what they could with what they had.
They did.
They really did.
They at least made the outside look pretty disgusting.
They were trying to sell an illusion of more than what they could do.
Yeah.
But we get it.
We get it.
And it works out.
It was comical.
And it's led into the inspiration of all these newer, reiterations of it.
Yeah.
So now we have...
that are actually what they could envision and what
they wanted it to probably look like. Yeah, for sure. That's
but
probably such a
time.
To be to create something and then have things be remade. Because I know Sam Raimi didn't direct the 2013 one, but the person who did direct it, I think it was they had worked together, so he was still had some oversight on or his whatever. I know in this newer one, I don't think he had as much of input in it. It was a different person's project, but that must be something to have people do your work and then elevate it. I wonder what that feels like.
Yeah.
Does that make you feel like shit, or do you oh, this is super cool? I don't know. Emasculating in a way, but not your masculinity, but your art almost. Does he emasculate your art?
Just being
Oh, damn. They did it better.
Well, shit.
But I guess it should only be taken as an honor, right? Because people imitating
At least
art.
people are imitating
Yeah,
it.
and that should be a form of flattery, people say, right?
Yeah, that's what they say.
And so, anyways, we're up there. We're showing the girls now all this stuff, and they start to play the tape that they found. And so this is where we get the explanation of how, like,
Kandarian runes from ancient Sumerian times, stuff of that. They call it. They don't actually refer to it as an Necronomicon.
No, they don't.
But they do say something else and then say that it roughly translates to the Book of the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember what that
it was another language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did not write it down.
No, it's all good.
You guys.
But they're listening to the tapes of it, and of course, I think it's Cheryl who's just kind of like, or if not all of the girls are just like, turn this off, like turn it off, like
Cheryl
this is,
especially though.
right?
Cheryl was not a fan.
She was like, this is dark-sided. I don't want to listen anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Scotty's being like a jerk and is just like, haha, whatever. And he keeps playing. They stop it, but he plays it again.
Yeah.
And at this point, that's whenever it gets to the point of the doctor on the tape saying like this incantation that is in the book that apparently releases evil. And as he's saying the incantation, we see the evil outside,
it like snaps a tree or something, and then the tree branch
goes through the window,
breaks through the window.
Mm-hmm. And this really freaks out Cheryl, of course.
Yeah.
And then everybody's just like, oh, okay, that was a lot.
Because we had her super dramatic scene of her yelling, turn it off.
And then
turn it off.
I think Scotty is still just laughing at this point.
Yeah, he was.
Just like,
and then
whatever.
that's when the tree branch breaks through. And that's it. At that point, I would be like, can we take her a little in this tape a little more seriously?
Yeah, because things are happening.
But of course, Scotty's just like, she's acting like a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
And this is where we get Ash's more kind of thoughtful side, because he's like, man, you shouldn't have taken it that far. You saw how she was, obviously getting agitated by it.
Yeah.
You spooked her out. And so after all of that happens, Ash, I think it cuts to Ash and Linda, right? They're back in their room or something like that.
Yeah.
And they're talking. They're kind of having a heart-to-heart moment. And he gives her a necklace.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's important to note the little eye scene that they had.
Oh, yeah.
Because she goes to check on Cheryl before they stay up to listen to the storm, is what he said. And as he's like waiting for her to get back, he pulls out this necklace or a box. And once she comes back, he acts as if he's asleep and kind of just has the necklace conveniently placed on his lap. And there's this whole back and forth scene between Linda and him, and her looking at him to make sure he's still asleep.
Yeah.
As she's like trying to sneak it out of his hand, and then him looking at her the whole time, basically.
Yeah.
And then shutting his eyes as soon as she looks at him. And that has a funny callback later.
Yeah.
Which I liked. I was like, oh,
That's
this is entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little camp, but it's almost like a soap opera, horror soap opera.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it gives. And so they have their whole little moment, and then they're talking. And then after all of this, it pans to the outside of the cabin, and then we're almost like a POV shot again of the evil watching them. And we have them, and then it pans over to Shelly and Scott in another room.
I couldn't remember Shelly's name, and at first I thought she was Ashley. And
okay, I see. That was a little confusing at the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. Which Ashley, I like Gone with the Wind kind of thing. It's a pretty well known.
Or like Leslie.
Yeah, can be a guy's name as well. And
can be, or just people made it that.
Yeah.
I feel like people just were like, no,
it's a guy's name. Yeah. And so, but at first I thought her name was Ash, and so I called her Fake Ash.
Gotcha. Okay.
For a bit, because I didn't
like,
know her name.
Fake Ash.
I didn't know her name until she got turned. And then he was like, "Where's Shelly? Shelly?"
And then we couldn't stop saying her name.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what every girl too, after they got turned, it was like, oh, now we're getting names.
Now, now we actually know who these people are.
And so, it pans all the way after we're panning to Shelly and I was about to say Scott. It goes to Cheryl. And I guess that was me mixing Scott and Cheryl together. Carl. Jimmy Neutron. it's focusing in on her, and she starts to hear noises, right? And then the voices of join us.
Yes, this is where she hears the join us. And for some odd fucking reason,
she decides she's going to.
Decides to go outside. And I was like, girl, at least tell someone. Like, you're already freaked out. Why would you just walk outside?
It sounds like a lot of red flags, and it sounds like you should have just stayed in your room.
Yeah, exactly.
You just found the perfect product that helps with staying cool during hot summer runs. No more gross warm water. Stay cool with this product from Gear Handle. This hydration tube cover helps keep your water cool and easily accessible. Stay hydrated during those long summer runs or even delay from freezing in the winter. Plus, they're compatible with various brands of water bladders and come in various colors. Visit gearhandle.com and use promo code H2O today.
So Cheryl is outside. She is not running. She's going through, well, also too, like, I don't understand how she's even, there's no visibility. Are we just going by moonlight? Because she's out there with no flashlight or no anything.
Yeah, I think she is going by moonlight, which it did look well lit enough to be doing that, but still not
a smart idea.
Yeah.
After you like already hearing and seeing and feeling a whole bunch of evil spooky vibes.
And the whole, like, she just walks so far away from the cabin that I was just shocked. I don't know. What are you doing, girl? Get back into the safety of your room.
Yeah, but she decides not to. And so she still is going, like you said, further and further into the woods until she starts to hear noises, and then the trees like start to snap around her.
Yep. And this is where, trigger warning, if you'd like to skip ahead a few 30 seconds, you might as well.
Maybe a minute. But essentially she's running, she's freaked out, and these vines and twigs and branches start to like grab her and wrap themselves around her to where they have her pinned down on the ground.
Yeah.
And we have...
And it's ripping her clothes off of her.
Yeah.
It's
We get a boob
takes
exposed.
the robe off, and then, then it opens up her shirt, her boob's exposed. It like wrapped, it like cupped her boob.
Yeah. Very much like the evil entity is being sexualized in the moment because this like massive stick just pops out of nowhere and goes right towards her, no square.
Yeah.
And we get a scene of, her getting sexually assaulted by the woods, essentially.
By a tree.
And I guess this is the way of like the evil itself entering her body first. I guess, I think it was probably, it was a different time as well. There wasn't a lot of like, and maybe just for shock factor as well. This was probably put in there, and I'm sure Sam Raimi wasn't trying to like trigger people or do this or do that, but it's a pretty graphic scene as well, because she's making noises, and it makes it look like sex.
Yes,
but like with a tree. Yeah.
And it's not short.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty long scene.
It is a pretty long scene where it happens.
But finally she's able to break free from the branches and all that stuff that's like holding her down, and she's naked, and she's just like running, trying to get back to the cabin. Another dramatic moment, because she just like keeps falling every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, baby, just go. Like,
get up. Stop. No.
She keeps falling, and just like before, we get all these POV shots of like the evil chasing behind her, and she finally gets to the door, and she's trying to knock on it, but nobody's opening. So she's trying to get the key, but it's like one of the keys is like tucked behind the like the wood
brick
framing
kind of
thing, so she can't pull it. Poor thing is just like terrified at this point and hyperventilating,
Rightly
trying
so.
to get inside. And thankfully, before the evil gets to her, as we can see from the POV shot, Ash opens up the door and kind of falls into the room in his arms, and is kind of like, oh my God, like the trees are alive. And she's ranting about how everything's alive outside, and
they know.
Yeah.
The trees know.
And at this point she looks crazy. Yes. And she looks beat up, because they're like, what happened to you? Like, who did this? What did this to you? She's covered in scratches
all over her face. Her clothes are torn to shreds. She's indecent, basically. And
she wants to leave. She really wants to leave.
Is adamant about wanting to leave. She's like, I will not stay here. Like,
and Ash is like, no, we'll leave like in the morning or something. Like just, and she's like, nope, take
right
me
now.
now.
Right
So he's
now.
like, okay, I guess you can stay somewhere in town. And so he tries to get her to the car. And they do get to the car. Sorry, not try. They get to the car, and when he's trying to turn it on, it won't turn on. And she's, I love how she's like, they won't let us leave. I know it won't turn.
It's not going to start. Yeah.
And then it just starts off like, it's like 2 seconds.
Cue.
Yeah, literally right after that. But they end up driving out. And then is it that the path is like obstructed or something? They have to stop.
There's literally no reason for them to stop.
Okay,
Ash just stops, gets
right?
out of the car
to like go investigate something. I don't know what.
I guess he saw something because then even Cheryl was like, "What? Do you see something?"
And he's not talking to her.
No,
and she's just like, "Where are you going? What are you doing?" And then
clearly is terrified. Like, why would you leave her in this situation? I guess he was going to look at the bridge before they drove on it, because she eventually makes it to the bridge, and we see that the bridge is destroyed.
Yeah,
the bridge is gone.
But then, like, I feel like, but she beat him.
Yeah.
So, like, what? I don't know what he was doing.
Unless they somehow passed on the way back, and it just seemed like a much longer walk.
I don't know. Yeah,
but I feel like I would have
10 feet.
Yeah, it could have been.
It felt very far though, the way the movie, like the way she walked out.
I feel like if it were me, I would get right up to the bridge and then stop and get out of the car and investigate. Not that far away.
Yeah.
Anyways.
And if I were her, I would have kept driving and just left him. But because I'm pretty sure the keys were still in the ignition. But anyways, this is where I was mentioning earlier. She throws her little, not a tantrum. But
it is a tantrum.
Yeah, just kind of flailing on the floor and like, they're not gonna let us leave. We're never gonna leave. We're all gonna die. No, I don't think she says we're all gonna die just yet.
Not yet.
But she's like, we can't leave. And they go back to, or it cuts back to them at the cabin, and Ash is listening to the rest of the tapes by the doctor, and it's basically saying like he found out the hard way that the only way to get rid of the evil is by bodily dismemberment.
Yep, dismembering the bodies,
which doesn't even work later on, essentially,
no,
because they're still alive and reanimating.
Well, and even it didn't really work in this one. Like Shelley was still flopping around afterwards, and then Linda's head was still just
laughing,
chatting away.
Yeah,
while it was off of her body.
It wasn't until the ending where he was able to get rid of them. Which even then, I was just like, I don't even feel like they're gone.
Yeah, no, it didn't. It didn't seem like they were gone.
Yeah, and so at this point,
like clearly something wasn't. Got him in the
by the end. And so at this point, we have Miss Shelley and Linda doing this card thing, and Linda is trying to guess the card number that Shelley is having in her hand, and Linda is letting Shelley is letting Linda believe that she's right and she's guessing everything right, but she's not. Which is
like
there.
ESP.
Yeah, and it's there for show, because then we have Cheryl, who's not even close to them, start naming what's on the cards.
Yep.
And she's getting them right. Yeah. So
even the ones that she hasn't pulled out of the stack yet, we just see like, oh shit,
what's up with her?
Yeah.
And she turns around and her face, the makeup.
My notes say ha 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 ha.
Yeah. Like a 12-year-old did it.
Yeah.
Oh, but I'm sorry, my bad. I don't want to be disrespectful.
It just was very low budget, and that was evident.
And so she's levitating, and she's basically saying like,
"Why have you disturbed our sleep?
Yeah, we're awake now. Now we're gonna kill you, and
you'll die like the others before you."
Very much that. And so after all that's happening, she's levitating. They're all very like shocked, and they're like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, like, what's wrong with her?
But in like a so chill
nonchalant way.
Yeah, we're not freaking out.
They're just like, literally, they're like, "What's wrong with her?"
Yeah. And as soon as she's done giving her little speech, she passes out. She falls on the floor. And then we're going to check on her to make sure she's like okay or whatnot. But as Ash is walking up to her, we see her kind of picking up a pencil, and Linda's close to her. And this is where she stabs Linda in the freaking ankle area heel.
And it is nasty. They did a good job.
And she was digging in there, like you said, for a while.
She was, yeah. And then not only does she stab Linda, she also chunks Ash. Not even just like a little like shove.
Oh, and she slapped Linda too, remember?
Yeah.
After she stabbed her.
And she like straight up threw Ash across the room, and he gets into one of his many tumbles with the bookshelf. He got
so many times.
Ash, get away from that bookshelf.
And she's got the demon strength.
Yeah, she really
take
does.
all of them on. And so because I'm like, Cheryl is strong. And at this point, I think Scott kind of gets one upper hand on her, and he ends up kicking her into the cellar.
Yep.
She falls down there, pretty funny, and he's trying to like lock it up, which he does just in the nick of time. Her little fingers are there, but he's like ding ding, and
smooshes.
Yeah.
And as she turns into a doll, basically, you can tell it's clearly not
a human.
A human, yeah, that's just being slammed back and forth.
It's hilarious.
It was very entertaining. Yeah, it was funny.
And I'm
sure it looked great for the 80s.
Yeah,
maybe.
for back then.
No,
well, no.
Mike is saying no.
No, okay. Yeah, it wasn't. It was. You could tell. And so the gang is now talking about like getting out of there. And they're all trying to, I guess, what do you do? What kind of game plan do you have when there's a broken bridge and you don't know where you're at, what to do? You don't know what the fuck's going on with her.
Yeah, you're stranded.
Yeah. And so all while they're making that noise or doing that, Cheryl's down there, like, making a bunch of like gurgling and noises and like just being, I don't know.
Obnoxious.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Many times it reminded me of like a monkey on a cage being like, hoo, hoo, like a gorilla or something.
And then Shelly is like, can she just stop making all those noises?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's also yelling, what's wrong with her eyes?
Her eyes.
Wrong with her eyes?
And I was like, oh, these girls are tripping. Like, this is one bad acid trip for everybody. Like, that would be the actual movie, is they all took tabs of acid, and this is just one big trip. And
they all killed each other.
Exactly.
For no reason.
At this point, we cut to Scotty talking to Miss Shelley, and I love how he's just like, everything's gonna be all right in the morning. It's okay. And I'm just like, what? Like, what about this is all right?
If we know anything from horror films, daylight means nothing.
Yeah.
Brings no safety.
Remember the strangers? And so the girl gets the girl gets attacked through a window. At this point, we have Shelly, it was Shelly, I think he told that, I guess. Or was it was it Linda or Shelly?
Linda's asleep.
Asleep, that's right. Linda is asleep after the stabbing incident.
Yes, she is in shock or something. She's passed out.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, she's not awake.
Shelly is looking out the window and like, I guess, because she sees it, but I don't know what she sees necessarily.
But she sees like something.
Evil force, I don't know. And like the window just crashes in front of her, breaks, and the boys hear it, and Scotty goes in the room to try to check on her, but she's nowhere to be found.
This is where I finally got Shelly's name.
And because he's calling out for her and he's trying to look for her, she's not responding. He looks behind the closet and he goes into the restroom, and all these moments are just kind of, they're set to like build up the tension of like, oh my God, is she there? Is she not?
Yeah, because I thought she was going to be behind the closet door, like in the window.
And then I thought she was going to be behind the shower curtain, but she wasn't. Yeah.
It was only a disgusting tub.
Yeah, and which is also a red flag.
Scrubbed.
And so she ends up, of course, she didn't pop at that moment, but 5 seconds later, she comes out and attacks Scotty from behind, and surprise attack. And at this point, they work their way from that room into like the living room area, and he ends up pushing her essentially, and she falls into like the fire that they had
with her head.
And so she's kind of burning a little bit, getting scars, and you can tell he's like kind of coming out of his like what's that word, the adrenaline, and he's like, oh my God, Shelly is burning. So he tried to pull her out, and she's just like, thank you for saving me from the coals of my pretty flesh. And then she's like, you look pretty.
Yeah, you have pretty skin, give it to us.
And attacks him again,
and then Ashley gets in another fight with the bookshelf at this moment, and the way he gets tangled in the bookshelf both times, I was like,
and he's like stuck.
Yeah, his arms like through the thing, and I'm like, what are you doing?
And at this point, I think this is when she tries to get the sword, right? That we saw.
Yeah.
the special ancient sword. I don't know.
I
what
just
we're gonna
call it the fancy sword.
the fancy sword. And so she's trying to stab Scotty, but at this point he is able to kind of hold her off just enough to grab a knife and starts cutting her wrist.
Yep.
And then,
But then
this is where she decides, I'm just gonna bite it off.
Yep. She eats off her own wrist.
Yeah, and makes her hand pop off because
Yeah.
I guess that's what you do whenever you have an open wound. Yeah,
I guess so.
And
It
this
looked
is-
pretty good at first.
and this is where we're getting also shots of like Bruce Campbell of like there's a lot of shots where it's just like we don't see what's happening, but we're just watching him have facial reactions and he's just
Yeah.
like
Because he's standing
whole
there with the
time.
axe,
Yeah.
just like not knowing
frozen.
what to do.
Yeah.
He's just like, huh?
Yeah.
In the corner. And it's like, what? Come, move your feet.
In disbelief.
Yeah.
I feel like, and in shock. But because then we have Scotty getting up and at this point, oh no, Scotty stabs her, is able to stab her with the sword.
Stabs
in
her
the
in
back.
the back.
Mm-hmm. And she's like,
Oh, apparently I called it old eerie thing as well.
the sword.
Yeah.
Okay. And she
I
starts
called it lots
to
of
like,
name.
what's the word? Like,
She's spewing pink Peptol milk stuff.
yeah, it's like the longest
Pepto.
death.
Bismol.
The longest death ever as well. Because she's just, well, maybe later was the longest death, but
She's just, yeah.
yeah, because it's like a death, but not a death because she's like, you know, spewing all of that. But then like 5 seconds later, she's back up again, reanimated. And at this point, this is where Scotty's like yelling at Ash to like hit her or something, hit her with the axe. And Scotty grabs the axe from Ash and then he's able
Promptly
to just
Dismembers her.
dismember her. Yeah.
Yep.
pretty
I
much.
liked how the screen went red with blood too.
Oh,
I thought that was pretty nice. I was like, okay, that's good.
And yeah, and then of course like he is able to dismember her, but her body is still like
Flopping
moving.
around.
Yeah,
I wrote,
flopping.
flop on the deck and flop like a fish.
SpongeBob SquarePants.
More SpongeBob.
Yeah,
Doodle Bob. She's
Doodlebot.
flopping.
Wow, the amount of references.
Mhm.
And so Shelly's dead. She's, I mean, for the most part, I feel like, because at this point they're like, what are we gonna do now? And
They're
Scott's like, we're gonna bury her.
We have to bury her. That's the only thing to do. And
I
Ash
guess.
is like, we can't bury her. She's our friend. And he was like, well, she's dead.
Yeah, I mean, what do you want to take her to the hospital?
Yeah. Her head's off.
Her
Arms are off.
Yeah, literally was like
legs.
torso, legs, everything. Yeah.
Yeah, she's just a little stump.
And I think this is when they start to talk about Linda, and then Ash is just like, oh, well, because they bury her. Right? They go through the process of actually burying her. We
They
see it
move
all
her outside
happen.
in like a sheet.
Mhm.
That sheet, I will say, looked disgusting. It looked like they
bloody
just
and
had
all
like
gross and,
just tons of meat,
Mhm.
bloodied meat in there or something. It looked pretty nasty. I was
Yeah,
like, ew.
I can see that.
But believable.
And so they do all the burying and stuff, and then we're back inside, and this is when we get a conversation of like, well, Linda's been asleep this whole fucking time. And so,
Oh, the grave they dug for Shelly was way too shallow as well.
oh yeah,
Sorry. I was like, y'all just placed her.
and
Did y'all
a
dig
little
like
ditch.
maybe 4 inches is what
Yeah.
it looked like.
Mhm.
But then all of a sudden, magically, it was,
A grave.
yeah.
Yeah. And so, and then later on, like Linda gets this big ass deep hole. Like I was like, what?
But not even that deep. It was still only like up to his,
His knees.
like below his waist. Yeah.
Mhm. And so Scott wants to leave. He's tapping out. He's like, I've had enough. I don't know how. I'll find a trail. I'll do something, but
And he's
I'm
saying,
leaving. And
like, fuck y'all.
then, oh yeah, for the most
Save
part.
your own girlfriend. I'm getting out of here.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
don't, because
I don't
Ash is
blame
being
him.
like, yeah. Ash is being like,
I gotta stay here and take care of Shelly,
Linda-
Linda.
Linda
Yeah.
can't like walk that far with her
Mhm.
leg. Like she can barely walk. Like, what are we going to do?
And Scott's like, well, we'll leave her and we'll send someone in the morning.
And he was like, no. And then he was like, okay, well, then I'm going
Bye.
and you
Mhm.
can stay here.
Deuces. I'm
Yep.
out.
That's
Mhm.
your own girlfriend. My girlfriend's dead. So
Yeah.
don't matter no more.
And so, I mean, like, I can't blame him, but also, like, can't move, but, like, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And so, at the same after this, we see Cheryl is still being Cheryl down there. Just, like, this whole time, she's just been, like, just probably spewing, like, curse words and, like, you know, you're gonna die, wah,
Yeah.
wah, wah, all this time.
Mocking
Because she's
them.
still doing it. And then Ash goes in to check on Linda. And this is when he goes in, he sits on her the bed next to her. And he's trying to check her wound. And one, like you said, it was a baby little ass hole.
Yeah.
And then
it looked like the pencil only like
Yeah.
went in
It's a little
once
jab.
and just came right back out.
well, and there was no like ugly looking, like it was bloody earlier, you
Yeah.
know? And so anyways, I really
Bruising.
and then the whole part where it's like it's supposed to look like a virus spreading, I guess,
Yeah.
but it's just like yeah, I
it
don't
was
know.
instant. It was like pop, all of a sudden it was there, and then she just pops up out of the bed. It was very comical.
Because she's doing that maniacal laughing that she's doing, and she pops up very
like Dracula.
Yeah, exactly like Dracula would out of his casket. And so she is chasing Ash out of the room, right? Oh no, she doesn't. Sorry, she just
sits there laughing.
She just sits there in the middle of the doorway, and we can tell that she's crazy. And so I think at the same time, Scott just happens to like return to the front door, and he's like
Scotty
hurt.
comes back, and he's been fucked up. By
Maybe the same thing happened to him that happened to Cheryl.
Yeah, well, the back of his pant leg was torn, and I was like, did it get in?
Got him too. It's his little pussy, and so
I wondered.
It could have probably happened. I mean, I'm sure the evil was an equal employer, opportunity employer, something like that. And so Scott returns, and he's like mortally wounded. You can tell he's dying.
He looked because
he's like coughing up blood and stuff. And then he's talking to Ash, and he's just like, I don't want to die, like please don't let me die, don't leave me.
You're not gonna leave me,
but like
here,
I left
you?
But he left everyone else, so like fuck him. And so Ash is trying to get information from him, like, is there a way out of it? And he's like, there is a trail, but the trees are alive, and like there's no way through it, really.
The trees know. And stuff. And then all the while, Cheryl's sitting there mocking him. She's like, you're not going to leave me, Ash, are you?
Yeah. And then Linda's just laughing and laughing and laughing. And
she's just sitting down like crisscross applesauce.
Yeah.
And just sitting there
laughing. She's actually the most chill.
Yeah.
But I can see that laughing would get tired really quick.
I would be like, shit. Just like exactly Ash was. Like, shut the
slap
fuck
her around.
up, Linda.
Yeah, and slap her around so she'll stop. And she ends up she's still laughing, but then she he pulls a gun on her. That's right.
Yeah, he pulls a gun on her, and then all of a sudden she comes back to normal. She's normal Linda again. And he's like, oh my God. He pulls her into his arms. And then we hear Cheryl's voice from down below saying, like, talking to Ash, saying, like, it's me, let me out. Sister.
Which at this point I was like, oh, she was a sister?
It would make sense as to why she was like the third wheel.
Fifth wheel, or third wheel. Yeah. I was like, oh, okay, I guess that works. But yeah, she's like, trying to gain his sympathy and like let me out. But as soon as he gets close enough, she just fucking like punches through the flooring. And grabs him, and she's like, ha ha, got ya, I'm gonna kill you now. And at this point,
I can't believe he even pulled out his keys to get close to it. I was you fucking idiot. You are so dumb.
And then he's able to back off of her. And then that's whenever Linda is cackling again. He's like, oh, crap. Yeah. So it's kind of looking bad from all angles at this point.
And then she starts singing the song, we're gonna get you. Not another peep. Time to go to sleep.
He ends up dragging Linda outside because I guess he's just like, well, I'll just leave you out here. And he goes back in, and at this point I feel like he's very like delusional, like he's just kind of like, because he starts talking about like it's gonna be okay, like everything's gonna be all right.
He was talking nonsense.
Yeah, we're gonna all leave in the morning, like this is gonna be okay.
A-okay. All the while he's like pouring water on Scotty, but Scotty's already dead.
Yeah, at this point. Scotty's dead. And so I think Linda comes back, right?
Yeah, Linda comes in, stabs him with the fancy knife, but then he takes it out and he impales Linda with it, and then she starts spewing the blood and milk again. That's milk what it looked like to me.
Yeah, it did, and like all the bubbles that were coming out and stuff.
Yeah.
And then at this point, it's like a duo. Linda and Cheryl start attacking him.
Yeah, and Cheryl's being like a monkey in a cage again, just being like, at the side.
But at this point, he's able to knock Linda out. And then
that's when he stabs her.
He stabs her, right? Yeah. Okay, gotcha. And
he stabs her, knocks her out, and then he takes her to that table, starts chaining her to it.
Yeah.
Which clearly this room was not a good room because
why do they have a full-sized human table where you can chain someone down to?
Yeah. That seems pretty messed up. And he was about to hack her apart with a chainsaw. Yeah. But then he stops, and then he's like crying over her.
Yeah, he can't bring himself to do it.
And I was like, boy, not the time. Like, we've already seen that. Like, Shelly was still flopping around. Like, we can't. No, you don't got time to be crying over her. I'm sorry, bud.
For some reason, he decides not to go through with it, and he's just like, "Well, I'm just gonna bury you as is." And so, and she's still knocked out for the most part. She's not coming to. And so he takes her all the way out by Shelly's grave, and that's whenever he digs that hole. And he's trying to put her in the hole, but she ends up coming back to fucking life again.
This is where the eye thing happened again, too.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really funny. Because, like, every time while he was digging, she opens her eyes.
To see if he could
Yeah,
was
and
noticing.
then whenever he looks back, she closes them. And it happened, like, 2 or 3 more times. And it was just exactly like, what had happened earlier. And it made me laugh. But yeah, he buries her like only up to like his knees, like we said. And yeah, he sees the necklace. He tries to pick it up, but all of a sudden
she pops up and grabs him on his ankle and tries to get to him. And, essentially they're in a bit of a fight, but
yeah, she tears his leg up.
Yeah. And every blow that he tries to do on her, cause he's like hitting her with some big piece of wood, like a 2x4 or something. She's just like lumber. She's like laughing. She's just like laughing. She thinks it's funny or it tickles. I mean,
he had to be really strong because he was picking up like straight up lumber. It was like a big ass piece of more than a 2x4, and he was just smacking her with it. But then all of a sudden she stops it, which was really cool.
Yeah,
and she basically lifts him up, but she's like still laying on her back. So that amount of strength is just
demon strength.
Yeah, bizarre. And
that's whenever she's like about to pounce on him after he's like been on the ground, and then he grabs the shovel, and as she's coming to him, he knocks her head right off.
Takes her head right off.
Yep.
And then she's just still sitting there laughing. It still doesn't make her shut up.
Yeah, and then like, poor him, like her body falls on him, and it's just like bleeding all over him.
And still attacking him.
Oh, yeah.
The body was still definitely prying at him. And the legs were trying to, like, they were floundering.
Yeah.
Basically.
And so all this shit's happening. He's like, damn, well, what the fuck? And so he ends up going back to the cabin. And we see that Cheryl has escaped from the cellar. And Scott is nowhere to be seen. So at this point, he grabs the gun. And he is looking around the house. He's very paranoid. Like this is where we get a lot of the scenes where there's just like noises go around in the house, and we just have him like, we're like, you think this is where he like turns his head left?
Yeah,
or something?
I think it is.
Yeah,
I think it was once he got back inside the house. After I think the moment he got inside the house, he turned his head, and then was I think looking to see where Cheryl was. And
he's making his way all the way through it for a good while, and then I think this is where Cheryl finally fucking comes out.
Yeah.
Did he go to the cellar yet?
No,
not yet. My bad.
Yeah, he
shoots her.
Cheryl, pops up, and then he shoots her right in the face. And I was like, he has no issue shooting Cheryl.
He
had issues killing Shelly. He had issues,
but his own sister, he's just like, bam,
bam. I know. Yeah. I was like, damn. I guess they didn't have a good relationship.
Where are the reservations now?
Yeah.
I feel that.
I was like, okay. It seems unfair, but whatever.
And poor Cheryl got blown up. And so he ends up going to the cellar to look for a box of shells because he ran out of ammo.
The moment he said shells, I was like, pasta?
Oh, really?
My brain, I did not think shotgun shells. I was like, why are we talking about macaroni right now?
Because he needs to make some killer mac to heal everybody's soul.
Shells and cheese. Sorry, macaroni is a different type of noodle.
Macaroni would bring me from a demonic state.
Yes.
It would bring me back. That's comfort food.
I want mac and cheese.
Yeah, for real. And so they are, he's in the cellar looking for the box of shells. He does find them. And then this is whenever he goes down there and the pipe is leaking blood.
And it just
breaks on him,
busts
all over him. Yeah,
and there's just blood pouring down out of the pipes, and
it's coming out of the sockets in the walls.
Yeah, it's coming into the light bulbs. Yeah, the house is just like filling with blood.
It gives very SpongeBob, like the walls would ooze green slime.
Yeah.
And so
Evil Dead is actually just SpongeBob.
It's just a SpongeBob homage. And so this is when he starts hearing the girl singing, "We're gonna get you, we're gonna get you."
It sounded like, I think it was a whole bunch of, because then you also heard other voices too.
Yeah.
I think it was like a flashback kind of telling you, because you end up hearing the doctor saying like dismembering them is like the only way to go about it,
that's
kind
right.
of thing.
He's having all these things pop back up.
Yeah, it was like little flashbacks happening.
And he's going back upstairs, and we're getting more scenes of him just kind of looking around, waiting for someone to come up to him, attack him. But at this point, like the cabin starts becoming alive in essence.
Yeah, there's this projector. It whirs to life, and it's like then there's the blood dripping from the ceiling. So you get this really cool shot of blood dripping onto the screen of the projector, and then it's just like pouring down behind him on what it's projecting.
And he's just like being blinded and freaking out by it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he finally gets the shells or whatever. The projector like whirs or dies. It like explodes.
Catches on fire.
And then he gets back upstairs, right?
Yeah, he gets back out there, and he's
the clock's hands are just going haywire.
And
they're just.
I think at this point he starts looking in the mirror, and then he puts his hand in the mirror, and it turns to water.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah,
I loved that.
really cool effect.
I thought that was really neat.
And then I was also like,
I don't know why.
Yeah, I was like,
But
why did that happen?
I liked it.
And it's the way that that happens, and he loses his goddamn mind, and he's just like, screaming.
That was the
like of all the things that could happen, that was the part that was like
everything coming
to
to life and bleeding around you wasn't enough.
Yeah.
But mirror to water.
Mirror water. Yeah.
Scary.
I would have just like went in. Seems like a way out.
Yeah.
I don't know. And so that's whenever after that he starts hearing noises, and he pulls out Linda's ring, and I think he's just trying to like feel some sort of like, I don't know, connection or comfort. And he ends up getting attacked by Scott and Cheryl.
Yeah.
Right? They pop out.
Yeah, because you see
Cheryl
like a
first, I
shadow
think.
move past the door. He shoots at that. And he's got his back against the door as he's pulling the necklace out of his pocket.
Yeah.
And then hands pop through the door, which is Cheryl.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. The hands pop through the door, and that kind of got me.
A little jump?
A little bit. I was like, whoa. Oh, okay. I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting like someone else, like I was expecting Scott to get up in front of him.
Okay,
but I wasn't expecting Cheryl to come through.
Just pop on in there.
The door, yeah. So
And,
that kind of got me.
And they're going at it. And then Scott gets his round in, and him and Scott are going at it for a while. And then at this point, I think somehow, where's the book comes into play, because...
Yeah, well, yeah, him and Scotty are fighting. He puts his fingers through his eyes, which was like... Don't fuck with the eyeballs.
And Scotty doesn't really like that at all.
No,
like,
he's not a fan.
Yeah.
And then he pulls out a twig that was in Scotty's side, and the boy turns into like a Kool-Aid fountain.
Oh, yeah, and all that
something.
blood just
he
pops
was just
out.
like you turn the tap
like
on.
an igloo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay. And then this is where the book is laying there, and he sees it, and he's on the ground. He's trying to use Linda's necklace to like lasso it in.
That's right. But because it had kind of caught a little bit on fire at that point, right? And I think he was realizing like Scotty was like smoking, and so that's why he was like, okay, I need to put this whole book in the fire. And so he's trying to grab it with the necklace ring thing situation, which I'm like, how? But okay. And he's able to get it, even though Scott is like pulling him back, and then he's getting like beat down by Cheryl with this like rod that was, I believe, heated up by the fire. Yeah. I felt like
fire stoker poker stick.
And so she's just beating him up. Those are heavy too. And so
it's sharp. I'm surprised he survived that.
And he is able to grab the book, and he chunks it into the fire. And this is whenever immediately they're like, they just stop
disintegrating,
and they start disintegrating and decomposing into like all this claymation and mush, and like,
and it looked pretty cool. It was
like
pretty good for claymation.
It looked like they put like grits at one point coming out of
one
of their arms.
I was like, I thought it was oatmeal.
Yeah,
but regardless, I was like, don't want to eat that for breakfast anytime soon.
But yeah, it's the longest death scene because they are just decomposing, and they start to even like have hands like bust out of their guts at one point. And
the book is even going like,
oh yeah, and the book is dying,
fire.
And it's got like its little tongue out. Yeah, it's so funny.
Then all of a sudden, yeah, like you said, after they're going through all that, and it almost seems like they're dead, they stop, and then those hands go through the center.
Yeah, and then it gets all over Ash. Poor Ash just keeps getting covered by blood.
It was pretty gross. And then they really melt down. And then you hear join us, join us, join us away 3 times, and it kind of fades out. And then Ash gets up, and it kind of ends with him, or so we think, walking into the sun and maybe to the safety of the new day. But what happens?
We get another POV shot, and it starts all the way from the back of the house and just like works its way through, and we just come up on Ash, and he's screaming in terror, and that's the end of the film.
And that's the end.
So do we know if he got away or not? We don't know. It's kind of a cliffhanger.
Where did he come from? Where did he go?
something Cotton Eye Joe.
Ashes dead.
Yeah.
That's
well,
not how the song goes.
But there are 2-3 other movies that follow this, and then of course the requels and whatnot. So the story does not end there. But for this movie, and in 1981 until 87 when Evil Dead 2 came out, this is what it was. So yeah, that is the Evil Dead. Do you have any fun facts, Miss Caitlin?
I do.
You're my fun fact girl.
Yay, fun fact.
Bring it on.
The cabin used as the film set was also lodging for the 13 crew members, with several people sleeping in the same room.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Living conditions were terrible. The crew frequently argued, and the cabin didn't have plumbing, so the actors went days without showering and fell ill frequently in the freezing weather. By the end of production, they were burning furniture to stay warm.
Oh, damn.
It did look like the place got
trashed like even more and more, right?
Cleared out.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was less furniture than what there was whenever they got there.
That's true.
At the end of principal shooting in Tennessee, the crew put together a little time capsule package and buried it inside of the fireplace of the cabin as a memento of the production to whomever found it. The cabin has since been destroyed, and the fireplace is still intact.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then I liked the fun fact that Mike gave us earlier about the car being the Buick, being in all 3 films, and then also the newest Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah.
Which one is that called?
Oh, the Multiverse of Madness, which
Multiverse
also
of Madness.
Bruce Campbell was also in.
Oh,
He
so that's
had a
really
little
cool.
cameo role.
Which was directed also
By
Sam
Sam
Raimi
Raimi.
had a hand in it. Did he fully direct it?
Oh, he fully directed the whatever
Multiverse
Doctor
of
Strange.
Madness.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, because they were trying to do a more horror take on a what's that word? The MCU Marvel movies. Yeah.
I didn't see that film, so
it was okay. It
And
wasn't
they're 3 hours
no
long
fault
and
to
stuff.
Sam Raimi or
it makes
anything.
me not want to go see it.
I think that it was just like it succumbed to really rushed. Like it didn't they didn't take their time with it. They just really were trying to like, Marvel just like put it out there, make some money. And so yeah. Overall though, the movie, I feel like watching it now, I'm just gonna get into it. It's very outdated, but like all the ideas are there. And I can like appreciate it. I really liked that it was only like an hour and 25 minutes. Cause like, okay.
Yeah.
Especially
really
for older
easy
movies.
to get through.
Because older movies like tend to be like really long and like drawn out.
They do.
Like, and I'm like, why?
Like Jaws.
Yeah, sure. Like, why is this extra 30 minutes that could have been like nixed, But man.
And Marvel movies.
Oh yeah.
Very drawn out.
Marvel movies are very long too.
So I no longer see them in theaters.
I'm like between a hard place of like I want to love it, but like for some reason I don't love it, but I like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's giving a solid like 3.7 for me.
Okay.
Even though I know it's like inspired so many people, has such a cult following, is like such a classic. I liked the campy part of it. I thought there were just some parts where I was like, I really wish instead of hamming it up, they would have like went darker in tone with it, I guess. But I guess that's what the newer ones do, because they're really dark and like
they are
demented. So this was definitely, I feel like, of the times and like what they could do, their limited budget. It was a bunch of, people just like friends that were like, let's make this horror movie. Let's do it.
Yeah.
The claymation part, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
With their bodies and stuff. There were some parts like with the girls acting and stuff where it just seemed a little over the top. But overall, it had a good pace to it. It really did, because you really like from the beginning as well, you're like already introduced to like danger and like something's wrong and all that. And then we get to the cabin and it doesn't take long for things to start unfolding. So I thought that was pretty cool. I like, I will say like, I like the 2013 requelish make a little bit better, because they add a layer to it that I feel like makes it, you connect more to the characters. Whereas this, like, I didn't have a single connection to any of those characters whatsoever,
Yeah, you didn't know much about them.
And
barely knew their names.
Yeah, and like there was no stakes, there was no emotional connection between like who and who. Like the only thing you could kind of get was maybe like those moments where Ash was like, I can't kill Linda because I love her, but like there was a bit more of like character fleshing out of characters in, I feel like, the remakes and stuff, but also because he, created a different storyline with that one, so there's a little bit more that they could do with it, like the reason why they were at the cabin in the 2013 one, whereas opposed to this one is just like, we're just here to like vacation essentially. But yeah, I'd give it a 3.7.
3.7.
3.7, yeah.
Good. I was thinking about a 3.5 for me. So that I basically stand exactly where you did. Overall, it was a good film.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just, and probably a pretty decent film for the 80s. And again, incredibly low budget. Just, it's a directorial debut. We've seen some really good ones, but this one, it wasn't bad. Like you said, all the ideas were there. And I can't read it.
Number 1 and oh, okay. Number 1, Mike's boo rating is 3 for number 1.
Oh. And
then his boo rating for the second one, which we will hopefully cover very soon, is like a 12 out of 5 boo rating. So
12.5.
Yeah. A 12 out of 5.
12 out of 5.
Yeah.
I love it. But yeah, overall, it was good. It was a good film. I think it's definitely worth watching.
Yeah. I think if you're going to say that you like horror movies, I think you should watch it.
Yeah.
I think
I don't feel less of a person for having watched it. Was it comical in some points? Yes. But that's also kind of the point of it.
And that's also like a lot of horror movies. Like you have to have that's why a lot of horror movies have like a joke.
Levity.
Yeah.
To
interwoven
make light
at some
of
point.
the situation. So that way you're not like, holy shit, this is just really fucking dark. Because then there's like, you get that with like Ari Aster's films where it just is like, dear God.
I need to go watch that Beau is Afraid still.
I know, me too.
It's a cartoon. What's a cartoon?
What's a cartoon?
The whole movie's a cartoon.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Because you think about a cartoon, if somebody explodes, they're right back in the next scene.
That's true.
Same deal with Ash. Anytime you see him from scene to scene, like his scratches disappear, all kinds of stuff.
There was a lot of continuity issues throughout the film. Even with like Cheryl's drawing at the beginning when she was drawing Doodle Bob. Yeah. It different from different angles and stuff. It was all wrong.
And then like you said, even Linda's like injury on her ankle or
leg,
heel, whatever.
And stuff like that. There were a lot of times where it was kind of like a reset.
If you think of it as a cartoon, none of it matters.
That's true.
None of the continuity matters.
That's true. It's like Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah.
He just
gets hit by an Acme thingamabob.
And, and then he's fine the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Did that record you? Good.
Yeah.
I was like, I hope that's in there. So that way it doesn't seem just like
we're just talking to thin air. And so, so we've got ourselves a 3, a 3.5, and a 3.7. I think that leaves it right at a 3.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, there's a voice.
Hi.
Thanks, Josh.
Hello.
And welcome to BooBaes.
Man, this show just starts, doesn't it?
It does.
Jump right in. I'm Joshua.
And I'm Caitlin. And today we have a guest.
Hello.
It's
named
Mike.
Mike.
This was
I'm
so
here.
unrearrersed, but you know what?
It was very unrehearsed, but
Off
that's
the
okay.
cuss. That's the best
We've
thing.
known each other for a while, so it's
Long
good.
time.
Yeah.
Really.
So what is this show again?
This show is
No, I'm just kidding.
BooBaes.
I'm
This is a
just joking.
boo. We are going to be talking about a special movie today, especially to Mike over
Yeah.
here.
A
Happens to
special
love.
listener request.
It is a
got it.
listener request, which if you all know, this month we're doing half of our shows are listener request, and today's is The Evil Dead 2.
Woo!
Sam Raimi's film released in 1987.
87.
Follow-up
Jeez.
to the original Evil Dead.
Slash.
In a way.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So Josh and I talked about this a little bit earlier, but
Mhm.
we figured maybe we'd let Mike explain it to us. But we were confused. We looked it up, and so we know the answer now.
Yeah.
But maybe our listeners won't know.
Yeah.
And so I was confused. I was like, is this fool really dumb enough to go back to the cabin.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, like, holy shit, Ash moves on fast. He gives a whole new same necklace to some
Same
new
name.
bitch.
Yeah.
Also, he likes Linda's apparently. But I was like, this is clearly a different person. So I didn't clue in that it was supposed to be like a requel.
Like a recap of sorts.
Yeah.
at the
So
beginning.
so I don't count the first movie. Honestly, it's just not even. Yeah, I mean, it's great that they did it, but they all did it when they were super young, had no money in Detroit. You know, they all knew each other. They were just goofing around, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then somebody made the mistake of giving them some money, and so they just basically remade the movie with more stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Definitely felt like bigger budget. You
Oh,
know what I
yeah.
mean? Like they had
Oh,
more
yeah.
resources to actually kind of make their ideas come to life.
Prosthetics and stuff were a lot better.
Yeah, and they even had
the
that moment with
practical effects.
you know, here in the beginning, or you know, towards with Linda like reanimating and stuff, like you know,
Yeah.
whole body
Looked like
dancing.
claymation.
Yeah,
So,
it looked like Tim Burton.
I'm pretty sure it was claymation. Yeah. And I want y'all to understand something. I understand that this movie is not like the greatest movie ever made. I understand the effects are a little goofy sometimes. And stuff.
But that's part of the charm.
It is
right?
part of the charm. And the way that I look at Evil Dead 2 is it's a cartoon. It's a big cartoon. And honestly, that's the way they kind of looked at it when they were making it. So Ash, if he gets blown up in one scene, you come back next scene and he's fine.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like a cat getting hit in the face with a frying pan. It's the shape of the frying pan. Next scene, he's
Very
fine.
Tom and Jerry.
Yeah.
Acme
Absolutely.
thing
Absolutely.
falling on
Yeah,
people.
they even like I know for one for sure goof was when Ash got thrown into the cellar at one point. He destroyed like all of the stairs on the way down, and then later on, whenever he goes to
There's no continuity.
meet Henrietta and stuff,
He's like climbing back
all,
up them.
all of the stairs are intact.
Yeah.
And I was like, that doesn't
Yeah, you're not
doesn't
supposed to
quite
take
line up.
You're not supposed to take any of this seriously.
But that does
Yeah.
make sense when
Yeah.
you say like think of it in the sense of a cartoon.
It is a cartoon. Yeah, that's really all it is.
Because it's really out there and
Fair.
it's really like campy.
It is
you know.
very campy. Yes, yes. I will. So you said 87. That's when this came out? Good God. Okay. So I was 18 years old when this came out. So sweet spot, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that is a sweet spot. I took a girl to see this, not knowing how a visceral reaction she would have to it, where she's like, this sucks. And I'm just like, well, then you can leave. I'll stay.
I'm
And
enjoying this.
Yeah, I stayed and watched the whole thing.
Yeah.
So
Did she actually leave?
yes. And so
Nice.
that's fine. I don't care. I
Well,
just,
that's how you
never
know.
had
just
a
met you.
second date.
See ya.
Yeah.
You know, that
well,
kind
that's
of
how
thing.
you
So-
know she's not the one.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
was definitely not the one, and then and I've made that mistake several times. But
Yeah.
I don't know, man. This movie just hit me in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
You know, it's just one of those things.
I think
It
it's
just
the
got you.
nostalgia, and then it's also when things happen, you keep them with you. You know, they
Yes.
grow with you. They kind
Oh,
of become like who you are in
Yeah.
a way.
Well, I've got
Like-
Ash tattooed on my leg, the
Yeah,
whole thing. Yeah,
exactly.
it was a moment in time, you know, that I wanted to keep. The other thing about this movie and Sam Raimi is this made me a huge Sam Raimi fan, and I wanted to see anything and everything he's ever done.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 3, I don't count because that sucks.
That
also,
was so bad.
It wasn't his fault though.
no, it wasn't his fault. That's the
Studios, yeah.
saying, "Oh, well, let's do this," and more is better. Well, shut up. No, it's not.
Mhm.
So, Spider-Man 3 should have just been about Venom, and I would have been happy. You know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Venom is such a big anyway. It doesn't have anything to do with this. But Evil Dead 2, one of my all-time favorite movies, hit me at the right time. It's a big cartoon. That's all I got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we ready to jump into it?
I'm ready. Let's go.
What is that?
Because
what are you
even-
eating over there?
Mac and cheese.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
We
okay.
got mac and cheese at
From the mac and cheese.
Shout
spot?
out to Roni's
Yeah.
at
Roni's.
The Union
Union
Hall.
The
Sponsor
Union
us.
Hall. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
then
pretty good.
Also,
Was it good?
Butterfinger.
Yeah,
sponsor
mine was good.
us.
Sure, Butterfinger. I think that's a little bit of a reach there, but
They're
maybe
gonna come.
They could.
maybe
they're gonna-
Ronies.
And
gonna love it.
HEB Hill Country Fair gummy bears. Shout out.
Those are
Anything
full,
on the table.
Are
Sponsor
those
us.
full sugar?
I believe so.
Gummy bears?
Yeah.
Okay.
They certainly taste.
You don't
like
want
it.
those other ones. Those are the ones that give you diarrhea.
Oh really?
The
no.
ones with the
These
fake
are
sugar.
so
oh
good.
yeah, because of all those Amazon reviews where they were
No,
like,
no,
I
no.
like shit my pants for
Yeah.
4 days straight.
Yeah, a lot of people would eat those and just
hear about
evacuate their
that.
souls. Yeah.
Oh no, this is I don't know. There's something about the flavor in these that I
Uh-huh.
just like. It's so much better than like the Haribo,
Yeah,
however you say
yeah,
that brand.
yeah.
Like those are like everywhere.
Yeah.
These are way better.
Yeah. Okay.
No, it's-
Good job, Hill Country Fair.
Yeah. But yeah, in the movie, we're starting off basically with like a recap, and we get the backstory on like the Necronomicon and how it's the Book of the Dead opens up a rift.
All
in,
the syllables.
Yeah, it opens up a rift in space and time, and
Yeah.
to a different dimension or portal to is it hell or just not even hell? No,
it's not
just
even really hell.
It's just
it's just alternate reality kind of thing.
Because in the end, we get the whole scene in the Army of Darkness, but it was written in blood, disappeared a long time ago, and then we get
blood from the red, like a red
oceans,
sea, a blood red sea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then it was 1300 AD. The book disappeared.
Yeah, pretty wild.
And then we opened to Ash driving like a bitch in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
So the Pontiac. Can we talk about the Pontiac real quick?
Yeah.
The car that they're in.
Mhm.
That Pontiac shows up in a lot of different places. That's Sam Raimi. So the most recent one is Doctor Strange, the newest Doctor Strange movie.
Right.
The
I
Pontiac
remember you
shows up
told us
in
about
that.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has become as big a character as like Ash has,
Yeah.
Like Bruce Campbell is in every one of Sam Raimi's movies somewhere. And now the Pontiac has shown up in a lot of his stuff.
That's
So,
cool.
Yeah, it's
Was
cool
the
for old
Pontiac
guys.
in
Easter eggs are
Evil
cute.
Dead Rise? Was that the car that they drove?
So
kids?
No,
No, I
but
don't
I
think
think
so.
I think
It could have been in the parking lot.
I think it is in the parking lot, but I'm not
Okay.
100% sure. Yeah.
Mhm. There were a lot of nods
Now-
that in watching this one because
Yes.
I hadn't seen this one before.
So you
I
saw
was-
Evil Dead Rise
Yeah.
before you watched this? Okay.
But I mean, I did watch the Evil Dead, and
Yeah.
then the remake.
I saw Evil Dead Rise before I saw any Evil Dead.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought maybe I had seen Evil Dead,
Mhm.
and then we watched Evil Dead, and I was like, no,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've just heard so much about it that I thought
Probably all here, but sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that I thought I had seen
There
it.
were a lot of nods from this one and the Evil
Yeah.
Dead Rise
Yeah.
that I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Well, and
Yeah.
I told y'all, I think during Evil Dead Rise that Bruce Campbell, he's not in the movie, but his voice is on the record that they play.
Yeah.
He's like one of the priests or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
You would never know had he not said anything. So.
Yeah, it's really cool though.
Yeah.
because
That's great.
Sam Raimi likes to like throw in those Easter eggs. And so
which is really clever.
One of my favorite, by the way, and this has
Uh-huh.
nothing to do with this movie, one of my favorite Easter eggs that Sam Raimi's ever thrown in is at the end of Darkman. You ever seen Darkman?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, you should watch Darkman. Darkman's a goofy, over the top thing too. It's more of like a superhero type movie. But at the end, the idea is that he can change his face and he makes this synthetic skin and all this stuff, and so he can be anybody. At the end, he's walking through this crowd. He turns around and he's Bruce Campbell, and so he's like changed his face. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's just I love that kind of
I
stuff.
think maybe I've seen that.
Liam Neeson.
Really?
Not
Yeah.
that I've seen
I like
it.
Liam
I think
Neeson.
maybe
that man comes out with a movie like every year.
Well, he didn't used to, but yeah, now it's same plot, different title every time. Yeah.
Literally.
I'm on a plane. No, I'm on a train. No,
No, I'm in
I'm in a
Alaska.
sewer. Nope, I'm in Alaska, and I'm fighting bad guys. That's every movie.
Man ever since Taken, I guess that's kind of what set
He
him back
found
off.
he found his thing,
His
man.
niche,
He
yeah.
found his thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because me and Robert watch a lot of his movies.
Really?
And Robert's like, yeah, man, this is like, he can play an alcoholic because he is in real life. So he just never has to not be drinking. Because
How wonderful.
And all of the recent movies like got some alcohol problem or adjacent.
Yeah.
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 Uh-huh.
Those shakes don't do well on camera.
And so, yeah, like you said, Ash is driving. He's with Linda and she's got the necklace on and everything. And they're heading, she's talking about like, what does this place look like? He's taking her to his parents' cabin or something, right?
Yeah,
I
it's
think I
just a
remember,
cabin in the
or some
woods,
cabin,
yeah.
right?
Fun
Yeah.
fact, one of my fun facts, it is supposed to be, although the cabin is supposed to be the same one as the one from Evil Dead, that movie was shot in Morristown, Tennessee. The sequel was filmed nearly 270 miles to the east in Wadesboro, North Carolina.
Okay.
And most of the film was shot on a set built inside the gymnasium of Wadesboro Junior High Faison Junior High School. Junior Faison.
Yeah.
Junior
That's-
Faison.
yeah.
Love his stuff.
Confused. Financier Dino D. Laurentiis.
This has been a Rogue Media
Yeah,
Network.
he's the one who's like the
Okay.
producer of the film.
So
Had originally offered his studio in Wilmington, but director Sam Raimi chose Wadesboro, a 3-hour drive away, fearing that being so close to De Laurentiis' office would lead to a studio interference.
yeah, De Laurentiis. Just to give you all a little bit of history on him, he used to produce a bunch of this kind of stuff. And one of the things that he used to produce, and I believe this is correct, he produced some of like the Jason and the Argonauts type stuff. And I don't know if y'all have ever seen that, but in Jason and the Argonauts, and this is going to Army of Darkness, they fight a lot of claymation skeletons and monsters and stuff like that. And so in Army of Darkness, he's kind of given a nod to all that claymation stuff that De Laurentiis did in the past. And
Oh,
that's
like
why
the
it's so
creature at the
goofy.
end.
Yeah, it's just so
Yeah,
goofy
yeah.
looking, but it works because if you know the history.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It makes you
Linda's
have
an
a-
idiot too.
Deeper
by the way.
appreciation.
Yeah.
Linda's kind of a moron.
Yeah, she is.
Linda is a
just
little
kind of
stupid.
floozy.
Yeah,
Just
they
kind of
kind of all are, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, and there's at some point too, it is very camp, like the over dramatics
Mhm.
of like how they act, and then kind of like the
Yeah,
stereotypes too,
yeah.
like Annie, and then what's his name? I can't remember his name. The dude who was Bobby Joe's boyfriend, Jake. His
Oh,
name's
I called
Jake.
him Tow Truck Man.
It's Jake. No, Jake
Tow truck
had me
man.
laughing the whole time.
Yeah.
Especially when he's like, get the paper, and he's like, well, you ain't got no choice now. And
That's
just,
right.
Like, throws him down in
Yeah.
the basement.
Yeah.
I thought he was gonna put it in the fire. I thought that
I
would have been
thought
a
he
way
was
better
gonna put it in
idea.
the
Chunks it
fire
down
And then he
as well.
just goes and
Yeah.
chunks him down in the
Chunks it
basement.
down in the basement.
I guess because we need him later.
We
in the
needed
show.
him.
But yeah, but we make it to the cabin and we're just we're chilling. It's basically a speed round of what we got in the first
Yeah.
movie. And then he finds the book and starts reading the incantation, and then obviously she gets sucked out, and then
Mhm.
she's he's looking for her, and then she comes back, and yeah,
And this
he's-
one is the Naturum de Monto,
yeah,
which is also the Book of the Dead, but it's not the Necronomicon.
from the first
I
one,
don't
or I
think
don't know.
so.
I don't know.
It talked about the Necronomicon at the beginning,
Uh-huh.
but then it called this one the Naturum de Monto.
I think that it's just two names for the same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the actual
it's like-
literal translation of Book of the Dead.
Maybe it's like the King James versus the New
Not-
Age Bible or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is.
NIV.
NIV,
yeah,
National,
yeah.
International. No.
National, international version. Yep.
Yeah.
That's it. You made
get
it in
it.
one.
New
That's it.
international
That's
version.
it. Yeah, you got it.
No, but that makes sense though. But I think I get what you mean though, because in the Evil Dead Rise, we get kind of the introduction that like there are other multiple iterations,
Of
like
the
different
book.
copies, volumes.
Yeah.
That's what I got from Evil Dead Rise.
I'm assuming, yeah,
Yeah.
because it
Mhm.
did rub me the wrong way when I first saw the book and it wasn't the same book. And I was
Mhm.
like, come on,
Yeah.
at least use the same book. But if there are different versions and they're in different places and things like that, then I completely understand. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that is what they're going for.
And by the way, Evil Dead Rise, great movie.
Yeah.
Very, very well
Enjoyed
done.
it.
Yeah,
I liked
very well
it a
done.
lot.
Yeah.
Mhm. It's a nice, like, same kind of situations. And
Yeah.
like, they didn't, I mean, it even had like same things happening, like
Yeah.
the eyeball popping
Yeah.
and like certain shots.
Yeah.
And then a lot of homage, but it's like also a new spin, like now that they're in the building and it's like not
Cheese grater.
outside, not like in the cabin in the
Yeah.
woods kind of situation.
I hope that it spawns a whole new,
Chain.
well, like a universe,
Mhm, mhm.
like a Marvel universe or something, but it's an Evil Dead universe.
Yeah.
I hope so.
That'd
That
be
would be
cool.
cool. Yeah.
Mhm. We watch it just like
Yeah,
spread,
especially with the
grow.
special and practical effects they have now.
Yeah, we have. I think what happens next. She gets attacked by Linda, right? And she is now a fully animated, not animated.
Yeah,
but
because we get our first shaky shot of the demon approaching the cabin,
Mhm.
and
God,
it
I love that.
Yeah.
blows through the window,
And then she's like,
"Ah!"
yeah,
and gets
sucked out.
I'm
basically.
guessing because she disappears,
Yeah,
and then she's outside, and then that's when Ash goes out to go find her, and she's just like, "Ah."
yeah. She's a deadite
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah, she is a Deadite.
She's a
Yeah.
deadite, and she starts
Yeah.
attacking him, and then he has to, like pop her head off, like we saw
Cuts
in
her
the
head off
first
with a
movie.
shovel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
One-
then
like one fell swoop.
Mhm.
it just
Yeah.
goes in the air, and then he has to bury her.
Right.
But then that's whenever she ends up, she comes back, right? Because then he has to, her head comes back and it starts biting her. Biting his
Yeah.
head.
So.
Yeah, here in a little bit.
Yeah, that's in a little bit. He sees her
yeah.
out the window. Yeah, doing her ballerina
My bad.
dancing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's whenever
It was
okay.
all happening so fast.
It was.
My notes were, I was like, damn, that was
And
really
then-
fast.
and then-
Like,
and then-
Linda's already dead? Okay.
Hey,
But my
yeah.
bad, yeah, because this is where I guess officially the second movie kicks off, because then he's flying through the
Yeah.
woods,
Yeah.
through the trees and all that, but then ends up at the same exact spot.
Yeah, for
Or-
the most part.
Because
Yeah.
he's still in
he
front
ends
of
up
the cabin.
He ends up in that puddle, right?
Yeah,
Isn't
he
this
Yeah.
the
wakes
first-
up in the puddle.
wakes
Because
up
then
in
I
the
like
puddle.
how the camera like spins out and he's like wakes up and it's
So
like,
that is one of my favorite things about this whole movie. And
This
what-
shot was so
what-
funny.
Yeah,
too.
what made me like a Raimi fan
Mhm.
is I love the quick shots,
Mhm.
like when he's putting the arm thing together.
Yeah.
I like just boom, 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 one
Mhm.
shot, one
Yeah.
shot, and then the shot that you're talking about through the woods.
Mm.
yeah.
That is so cool. It was just everybody's just kind of
The way his head was
Oh,
flopping
yeah.
about was so
Yeah.
unnatural. I was like,
Yeah.
"Ugh."
Yeah.
That's a little. I was like,
It just
homeboy's
shows
His
neck
body
should be
movement is really
broken.
good as an actor.
Well, it just shows
Bruce
you how
Campbell.
creepy you can be with just regular stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to go overboard.
All the gimmicks.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it did a really cool job. And then the effects were so much better this time
Yeah.
Mhm.
than the original.
Sure.
Because whenever he wakes up from the puddle,
And he's like all possessed.
he's all possessed and his face is like, protruding and
Mhm.
stuff, and his eyes are all sunken in and purple. He looked pretty cool, pretty
Yeah.
scary.
That's a really good job they did of making him look like you knew from where he started and where he is. Like they didn't even have to say it. You knew what was going on.
Yeah.
Right. Just by those effects. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the sun comes out, and just like in Demon Slayer, that's
Just like clears it all away.
Mhm.
demons burn up in the sun.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't, but
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
went hiding.
Yeah.
Well, I like to think that he wasn't totally possessed at that point.
Yeah,
Right?
did
Like
it
they tried to get to him, and the sun came up in time, and
Yeah.
those kind. Anyway,
And I
Well,
think
it's kind
he
of like
also
later on as well.
has-
He gets possessed
Yeah.
at a certain point
Yeah,
too, and
sure.
then it gets out of him.
It kind of reminds me of like the sunken place
Mm-hmm.
and Get Out, when like the people are able to come through again and like they're able to fight and kind of push that other
at 7
being
times, yeah.
down
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. And so I'm wondering if he was able, like his consciousness was strong enough to like be like, get the fuck out, demon.
Mhm.
Maybe.
And then like especially whenever it had those ties, like because he saw the necklace and started crying
Mm-hmm.
and stuff.
That's
and
what
then
brought
that
him back.
Brought him back.
Yeah, like his emotion.
And then same with, now it didn't quite work, but it did distract Henrietta enough whenever Annie started singing Rockabye Baby.
oh, that's right. Yeah.
And stuff too. So I think the demon doesn't have complete hold over their bodies
Mhm. Mhm.
at that moment.
Mhm.
And then they're able to like resurface.
Well, I think
for a
you
moment.
saw a little bit of that in Evil Dead Rise too.
Like their humanity.
Like people would be
popping through.
partially possessed, and then maybe they'd come back, and then it would fully get them.
She'd be like,
You know,
Yeah.
that
don't,
sort of
don't
thing.
let it take my babies.
Like the one in the kitchen, like eating the
Mhm.
glass and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I felt like that person was, and then wasn't, then was again. You know.
Yeah.
I like it when my tummies have the creepy crawly.
That's your favorite. And so he ends up waking up, and he's sitting in a chair in the cabin. And
Yeah.
at this point, you're thinking like, wait, was that real? Was that not?
Mhm.
But
also,
then,
can we
yeah.
talk about all the position changes he had while sleeping in that
Oh, yeah.
puddle?
Yeah.
Because I was like, man is sleeping hard.
Yeah.
With how many times he's changed positions now for someone
He's
who's
in
supposed
that
to be
deep sleep.
unconscious.
Yeah.
Yeah,
REM.
because he changed positions like 4 times,
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
and I was like, well,
I think it's all about
Plotting.
just the creepy movement, you know,
Yeah.
and just the making you feel uncomfortable about what's going on.
yeah,
Yeah.
Because maybe it wasn't even him moving.
it's the
Demon
demons.
forces moving.
Could be.
him. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But he wakes up and he's in the cabin, and at this point, I think he's even thinking like, "What the fuck's going on?" And then we have Linda's head just pop falling from the sky and into his lap.
Oh,
Yeah.
and we got the demon face on the house.
That's
Mm.
true.
Saying, join us.
Like
they
the-
like to do those apparitions a bunch
Yeah.
in this one.
Yeah.
And it's like the whole front of the house became the demon
Yeah.
and was
Mhm.
like, join us.
Well, it's so cool, like where the windows are. I mean, and then from that time when they put the demon's face over the house, you
Mhm.
can't really look at the house and not think, "Oh, that's a scary fucking place." You know,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Kind of
yeah,
like
yeah.
Amityville.
Yeah,
It's already got eerie
absolutely.
vibes
Yeah,
to it.
yeah, a lot like that.
And it almost makes a face itself.
Yeah.
Just
Mhm.
by being itself.
Well,
yeah.
as humans, we have that thing where we look for faces
Mhm.
anyway, you know, and so yeah.
And then before he ends up back in the chair, he also, the sun starts going down and the demon's like chasing him, and he drives. The bridge is destroyed
Mm.
once again.
That's
Just
true.
like
All
it was in
curled
the
up.
first movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like it looks
Yeah.
like it reminded me of Anastasia, the animated film.
Yeah.
Whenever the train is rushing and then that big goblin like
Yeah.
just shoots through and the train tracks go like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminded me of that.
I've never seen Anastasia, but yeah. I
Oh,
feel you.
really?
Mm-mm.
Oh,
Been
it's
a
so
very
good.
long time.
It's one of my
But
favorite
yeah,
films.
I forgot because his over dramatic, like, no.
On
yeah.
the
He's good
yeah.
at that.
With the bridge, yeah. Whenever
And
he's
you
like,
get that little shot of him when
Uh-huh.
he's so little.
Uh-huh.
yeah.
And he almost looked fake. He almost looked like he wasn't a real
I
person
wonder how
in
they
that
shot
shot.
that. I don't know. Maybe it was
Maybe they just got on
miniature
the next mountain.
scale.
I think everything was miniature scale, and then they put him on top of it, like, you know, be able to mask around him, so it just shows him like standing there. Yeah, but I think all of it's probably models.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
they used a drone.
he is going and he starts driving afterwards once the demon starts coming up to him again. He's like driving backwards and then he whips the car around and then he crashes the car and is ejected from the window.
He's not a great driver.
No, he just
goes right through. He should have died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he remarkably gets right up and is like,
But again, it's cartoon physics.
Yeah.
It's cartoon physics.
yeah, he had the Acme.
Yeah.
That's
thing
right.
on his
That's
head.
right. Yeah, the Acme windshield.
And then just kept going.
Yeah. And then this is whenever he wakes up and then starts running and gets chased all the way through the cabin.
Mhm.
Yes,
And it's that
which
really
this
cool
is
shot that
that
you like.
I really liked this shot. I
Mhm.
thought this shot was super neat
Where
because it
it's
was
chasing
just
him through the house.
one long shot.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
just like following him through, and it felt really in the moment. It was really
Yeah.
cool. I liked it.
And then he shook him off and hid in the cellar.
Yeah.
I was also thinking, like, how do you shake off an evil entity? Like, how do you lose it? How does
Yeah.
yeah, and the demon gives up so quickly.
Yeah, it's just like,
okay,
yeah,
he's
and then
gone.
kind of
Well,
goes back.
the way I think about that is like, we're on the 21st floor here in this
Mhm.
building, and people always ask like the crickets. There's still crickets up here,
Oh.
like at this time of year, right? And then my answer is always that the crickets have all day. This is all they do, right? Is climb to a thing. Well, same deal with demons, right? Is the way I like to think of it. Like they're just biding their time. They'll be
Okay.
fine. They'll get him later.
Yeah, okay, I feel you.
Yeah.
So they're like,
Yeah.
screw it, we'll get him later.
Yeah. I feel you.
We'll come back when he's easy to find.
Yeah, that's exactly that's
Yeah.
it.
They
When
just
when his
tire 'em
defenses
out.
are down.
Yeah.
yeah.
Just like COVID.
Very much so.
I'm just kidding.
R.I.P. And so,
R.I.P.
I mean,
I got you.
the numbers speak for themselves.
Sure.
That's
Nar.
true.
So he ends up
The only
I
episode
think
to be taken down.
It's
Yeah,
right.
that's what
We're
it
getting
is.
flagged. But we have at this point, I think it cuts because he goes to he gets up going. He's hiding in the cellar, right? But then
Mhm.
it cuts to Miss Annie
Mhm.
arriving on the
Showing
plane.
up,
Yeah. And she's meeting Ed, right? That's his name.
I called
Ed?
him boyfriend.
She means business.
Mhm.
I'm telling you. She is.
Already off the bat, like
She
getting
is-
off.
yeah, here I
And
go.
She's just
Yeah.
like, here's the pages. Like I found
Mhm.
this, and like I
Mhm.
got to meet up mom and dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I was thinking parents because she was meeting her parents there.
Mhm.
Not I guess because they just chose that cabin to be at secluded. But we have
Well, that's where they used to go to like, have a little vacation or whatever. And then
Gotcha.
they were doing their translations and all the stuff,
Mhm.
Yeah.
so that does make a lot more
Sure.
sense. And so they end up. I love how whenever they're getting to the car and he's like, "What did you find?" and she's like, "Probably nothing, or a portal to another realm."
It's one or the other.
Yeah.
It's either nothing or
This
something big.
Or
Yeah.
Literally. But then we're back with Ash at the cabin, and then I think this
the
is what I was
piano's playing
talking
by
about.
itself,
Mhm.
and he's having an emotional moment for Linda,
Yeah.
and he's like sitting there like crying.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we look out the window, we hear like this sing-songy music start playing, and then
Mhm.
Linda's hand go "Blah,"
Yeah, she's
up,
back.
and then she just crawls out of the grave
Very
and her little
Carrie-esque.
Uh-huh.
yeah, and then she's just dancing around like a
Mhm.
little ballerina
Yeah, and it's
with no head.
and it's fake and it's goofy looking
Yeah.
and all that stuff. But for me, that just adds to the. I was a big stop motion fan, like a lot of those dinosaur movies and Jason and the Argonauts and all that kind of stuff. I was a big fan of that. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's a bold choice.
Back
Yeah, it was
back
cool.
then, was that like no, I don't want to say newer thing, but was it seem as not exciting or cool, or was it like more of like claymation and stuff like that? I don't
Yeah, claymation was not cool in any
Okay.
way, shape, or form.
know. Okay.
Claymation started I want to say like 40s 50s. I mean, it's that old, right? Is when
Yeah.
how they used to do things.
Yeah.
But 1987, no, I think the technology had caught up and you could have done it with practical effects.
Mhm.
I think, again, like I say, I think it was more of a nod to De Laurentiis than
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
else.
It was their choice.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
specifically.
Probably, it's
and-
probably cheaper too.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, she was doing pretty
Does take
good. She
so
was
much
dancing,
time.
and then the head came on, but the body was still spinning, but the head was still
Yeah.
looking at him.
That was pretty
Mhm.
cool.
Mhm.
I like that.
You
I
can't do
was
that
like,
with a real person. I don't know,
No.
not specifically.
Ah,
I
you
don't
might
know.
be able to take their head
Maybe.
off. Who knows?
Mm,
Yeah.
mm.
just kill him.
A dummy head, something.
I mean, they
Just
made The
kill 'em.
Exorcist head spin around.
Sure,
So
that's true.
there are ways. I don't
there
know.
are ways, and
There
that came out
Are
first.
ways.
And so I love how she's like, "Dance with me."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. And so and then at that point, I guess it seems like a fever dream because he just wakes up in the chair. This is the part where I was thinking about, my bad. And he wakes up in that chair. And
Well, he thinks he's going nuts at this point.
because she like flies away, and then she pops up and is like, dance with me, and then starts slamming his head into the wood. She's just like, gah, 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 to him. And so at that point, he's got to be a little disoriented too.
Well, and even that one, like it's the it's the fakey looking hands that are smacking his head up against the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know why I bought into that, but I loved it. So
I thought it was fun. I really had a good time watching this movie.
So also, I want you to think of this. Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell and the other friends, which one of them is Sam Raimi's brother, who's in a lot of his stuff also. They were huge fans of the Three Stooges.
Oh, that makes sense.
And so when you think of Three Stooges and then you think of a horror movie, this is pretty much the equivalent of a Three Stooges episode. Yeah.
His brother played Henrietta.
Yeah, his brother's been in a ton of his stuff.
I was certain that Henrietta was a man.
Yeah.
I was like, Henrietta looks
like a man
exactly
as a
like
Deadite.
Soul.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No, apparently Sam Raimi too lived in a house at that time with like a whole bunch of other like famous people that like included like Kathy Bates and like,
Really?
Like a few other like when they were all young and actors and aspiring and like working and hustling at that point.
I think they've done okay for themselves.
Yeah.
All of them.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then what Kathy Bates breakout was Misery, I feel like, right? Which was
Kathy
kind of
Bates
like
had been in a lot of stuff, but
horror
Misery
adjacent.
was definitely one that I remember her from. Yeah. That's a great movie too.
have you seen that one?
No.
No.
Stephen King?
It's
Misery?
Stephen
No.
King.
Yeah.
She basically
Very
is like a stalker, super fan, and kidnaps a book writer, and then like does a whole bunch. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Think Swim Fan, but a good movie.
Swim fan.
I
You ever
don't
seen
I haven't
Swim
seen
Fan?
No.
Really?
I don't know what that is.
Oh man, come on! There's this girl who's a swimmer, and she gets like this person who's just
Stalker.
completely stalking her. Yeah.
I'll look it up.
Well, it seems cool.
How about Single White Female?
No.
That's another one of them that's like stalky-esque.
It sounds like a Sharon Stone film.
Single White Female is I don't know, one of the girls that was in St. Elmo's Fire and that sort of.
Okay.
Sorry, this is
No,
not
you're
at all
good.
what you brought me in here for. but
No,
go.
it's okay. We always end up on tangents about other things that are not the movie.
Sure.
But
That's what makes it fun.
where were we at?
So this is the room where everything starts laughing at him, right? Is that where we're at this
Not
point?
quite yet.
Okay.
Not quite
We're
yet.
not there.
Because her head pops up and then it's like fucking with him and making fun of him, and then she bites his hand. And
Oh,
he's
yeah.
freaking out.
Yeah.
And like trying to beat her head off every which way he can, and she's like biting even harder.
Yeah.
It feels like a hermit crab. Have you ever had
Yeah.
a hermit
Oh,
crab
yeah.
pinch you?
Sure.
It does not let go.
Yeah.
And the more you try to get it off, the like harder it pinches.
Yeah. Or like a Chinese finger trap or whatever, that kind of thing. Yeah, you just can't get it
Yeah.
off. Yeah.
I've never, for fear of getting them stuck, I've never
Really?
even put one on.
Oh yeah.
I've never messed with one.
You got to
before.
do that.
I've seen it.
I feel like I've had to rip them off of me
Yes.
before,
Absolutely.
where I've had to like.
Sure. It like starts coming apart.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, I don't know why this thing was ever invented, to be honest with you. Yeah. But yeah, she's biting on his hand, and so
Yeah.
that's how his hand starts getting possessed.
Yeah, how it
Yep.
gets transformed. But this
Yeah.
is whenever he I love how he's like trying to get it off every which way, and then like he just like says out loud, like for the
Workshed.
audience, he's like work shed. And then we're just like, okay, we're going to the work shed, and then every which way just is stumbling,
Yeah.
like
I
does
know.
a spin,
I almost was
falling.
like, sir, get it together.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
you're getting bit right now, but
Sure.
come on.
And then every time he's smacking her on a tree outside, she's like biting him even more.
Yeah.
And I love how she's even making like
Yeah.
like noises.
She loves the taste of his hand.
Yeah, and then finally he gets her to the shed, and that's whenever he gets her head clamped on the thing.
He's looking- yeah.
whatever those things are.
On a vice.
Vice,
Yeah,
yeah.
a vice.
Gets her
Mhm.
clamped.
Yeah.
She lets go, and she's like, "Linda's soul was running in hell with us. You know,
Mhm.
we've got her." And I think that's whenever he looks at the chainsaw thing, and the chainsaw's missing.
Yeah,
first.
chainsaws.
The demons don't they cut right to the chase.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she's in hell, right?
Yeah, we've got her.
There's no
Yeah,
no
later
vagueness.
on, later on, she says your love was a lie, and now she burns in hell.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn,
Yeah, it's rough.
they're savage.
They're pretty. They are. They hit every which way they can, and she, her body, Linda's body starts running in
Comes
with the
in
chainsaw,
wielding it. Yeah.
and then started
and it's just like
attacking, yeah.
rubber. Yeah, just
Every which way. And then I love how he gets it to turn around, and then it like cuts her in half. But then, and then I really liked how the blood was like getting
Yeah.
everywhere, and they got him
Yeah.
the light bulb, so then like the room turned red.
Yeah.
But then she starts attacking him, and I'm like. it made no sense to me how he did not get cut up in any which way as
Sure.
he's like fumbling with
Sure.
her all over the place. But obviously,
It's a cartoon.
Cartoon.
That's it.
it's
You
a
got
cartoon.
it.
Say it with me,
You got
folks.
it.
It's a cartoon.
It's a cartoon.
And so then he finally he's able to get the chainsaw off of her, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
He pries it off.
And then he chops her head up.
Mm-hmm.
He's like,
Oh,
I'm
not before.
sorry.
Yeah, not before she's like, no, wait, don't. You said you promised we'd be together forever.
Yeah.
And he's just like, ah,
Yeah.
chops her head off.
Chops.
Yeah. And I think
You have
there's-
crossed a line whenever
Mm.
you're willing to chop up your girl's
Oh
head.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've definitely crossed a line.
And then we have the way that they shot it too, like you don't actually see him doing it because
No.
Sam Raimi wanted to try to not get like
Mhm.
a TVMA or whatever
X.
his rating X.
It would have been
yeah,
an X at the
X.
time, yeah.
Well, it ended up being unrated
Mm-hmm.
because
Mhm.
he couldn't even get the R rating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is crazy to me. What did they do? What did they say? They're just like, we don't even want to. They're
So
just-
I think this was even before PG-13. Like
Mm.
PG-13 was a thing that happened in my life, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the ratings happened before I was born, but after, like, I think it's late 80s, early 90s is when PG-13 came out.
I didn't even know that.
Mm.
I think Woman in Red was the first, or Lady in Red was the first movie. That's Gene Wilder comedy. And
Yeah.
I think that was the first one that was PG-13.
13.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, yeah, at the time,
It was either like G or rated R.
yeah, an X rating would doom your movie.
Mm.
Like
nobody would go watch it.
nobody would release it. You
Oh,
couldn't
yeah.
show it
Oh,
anywhere.
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, unless you wanted a bunch of perverts watching it. You know,
Yeah.
then you could show it there, but
Yeah.
that you're not making any money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, an unrated movie is better than an X-rated movie.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
And I'm sorry.
no, you're
And
good.
also back then, X was not the same as triple X. Like there was X and there was triple X. So triple X
Okay.
was your adult content.
mhm.
X was maybe there's some adult content. There's a lot of blood. There's a lot of violence. There's so
bad
much
language.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mild, coarse language.
Yeah.
Not even mild. Yeah.
Nudity.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Nudity was okay, but you could only have so much of it. And then after a while, you crossed a threshold and you were an X.
Well, it's like even nowadays you can
Tasteful.
only have like so many F bombs and
Yes.
all that kind of stuff in
Yes.
films or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, which is wild to me because it's like there's the internet. People
Sure.
are watching that shit
Sure.
everywhere, regardless of film.
Well,
But I guess
entertainment's not famous for keeping up. So
Yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
things like that take a while.
And so after cutting up Linda's head and everything, he goes back in the house, right? He goes back in here and
back in the cabin. He chooses. He finds a gun,
Mhm.
which he'll use throughout the movie as well. And then the rocking chair starts moving on its own.
That's right.
And
And he tries
he
to go stop it.
Touches it, yeah, and it stops.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get one of my other favorite scenes, which is this mirror scene.
Mm.
I thought it was super cool.
Yeah, because
And-
his head is like hurting and he's like, looks like he's out of it and he's looking at himself in the mirror and then
Yeah.
the mirror does the thing where it's like,
It comes through and grabs him because he
Mhm.
keeps repeating, I'm fine, I'm fine. And then the thing comes through and he's like, I don't think so. We just cut up our girlfriend with the chainsaw. Does that sound fine?
yeah,
And I was
that's
like,
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because if you
Got a
remember in the
point.
first one, they did that ripple effect in the
Mhm.
mirror, the
Mhm.
watery effect. So this
Mhm.
is like even more enhanced.
Yeah.
Advanced. It's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that's whenever we see that his hand starts getting all the like black veins on it and it's transforming into
Yeah.
I guess a deadite hand or
Yeah, so it's starting to infect him from
Yeah.
the bite, right?
Yeah.
So I think of it as like a zombie bite.
yeah.
You know, like even on Walking Dead or something, as long
Yeah,
as you
they
cut it off in
cut it
time,
off.
yeah.
before
you can
it
still
gets
survive
all
it.
the way in your
Yeah.
to
bloodstream.
your heart or whatever.
Yeah,
your
and
brain.
kills you.
And so he's getting attacked by it because it's
Didn't
choking
they cut
him
off
out.
Herschel's arm?
Yes.
They cut off a lot of people's.
Cut off a
Or
lot of
leg.
people's everything.
I think it was
yeah,
his
it was
leg.
legs. Yeah, it was leg.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or it reminds me of, have you ever seen World War Z?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever he cuts her arm off,
Yeah.
her hand
Mhm.
off, and
Yeah.
it saves her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one's
It's
funnier.
exactly like that.
Yeah. That's
This one's way funnier.
fast zombies. It's
Yeah, fast zombies are a different thing.
yeah.
Now, if you're talking like, what is it, 28 Days Later?
Mm.
That's good because they don't say they're zombies. They say it's a rage virus.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, it's
I'm
different.
okay with the zombies running at that point.
Mm.
Other than that, zombies are slow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
methodical. It's like the mummy.
Yeah.
You know, who the hell is scared of the mummy? Well, if you stand in one place long enough, you ought to be scared
He'll
of the mummy.
get ya.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Come find you. But yeah, now Ash's hand is
Turning on him.
Oh,
Yeah.
and this is also where we get the weird interaction between Annie and the tow truck driver.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
What's his name again?
I do not remember.
Jack.
I don't remember his name.
Okay, I'm gonna call him
But,
tow truck
tow
driver.
Tow
driver.
truck man.
Jake,
truck
Jake,
man.
Jake,
Jake.
Jake. Yes, Jake. Because
from
that's
State Farm.
yeah.
And we
Let me
meet
go down.
Bobby Joe.
Bobby Joe, yeah.
And
Because they're at the
Bobby Joe.
bridge.
her boyfriend.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bobby Joe is
Yeah.
her name.
Yeah.
And they're like, actually, there is another way in. There's a trail we
Mhm.
can take.
But it will cost you.
Yep. And
Mhm.
she's like, that's great. Carry my bags and we'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, he's like, I thought it was going to be those 2 goddamn small bags.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And he's got the fucking trunk on
Got a
his
big
back.
steamer
Kind
trunk.
of bit of
yeah.
an
Yeah.
ass.
Yeah.
And then at this point, at the same time, Ash is getting beat up in the house by his hand. And he's kind of
Yeah.
going back and forth. And
It's
then,
going ham on him.
Yeah, it really is. It's kind of kicking his ass.
I know.
And
it was
then-
breaking all those dishes on his head.
Mhm.
I was like, damn.
Again, Three
It's pretty
Stooges.
long. Yeah.
Yeah.
And because it's a pretty decent chunk of time that he's like
Mhm.
spinning,
Mhm.
fighting his own hand.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then he ends up cutting it off with the chainsaw,
He
which
does.
is pretty savage. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
'Cause it
giving
was-
Saw.
carrying his body towards like a
Mhm.
meat cleaver.
That's right. Yeah.
And was gonna like,
I'm not
Kill him,
sure
I
how those
guess.
physics work. You know, that your
Mhm.
own hand is pulling you towards something.
yeah,
but-
you're
yeah,
unconscious,
sure.
dead weight,
Yeah,
like
that's right.
just new.
But I've never been possessed by a demon, as
Yeah.
far as
That's
I know.
true.
So, you know,
I
who
think
knows?
that's like 10 times strength
Could be.
immediately.
yeah.
Yeah.
strength of an ant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
Maybe. Yeah.
But he ends up cutting it off, and then I think that's whenever we go back to the people on the trail, and they're looking, and they have the flashlights that are coming through. But then
Yeah.
we have Ash back at the house, and his hand he's still now fighting his hand that is its own entity running
Mhm.
around.
Yeah, I like
Um,
how he locks his hand up in the bucket.
Yeah.
and puts
puts
just
the
a few books on it.
And the book said something about
It's
arm.
a farewell to arms.
Yeah,
Is
farewell
the
to
name of
arms.
one of the books.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then it's able to get loose. It
And
gets
it
free.
flips him off
Yeah.
at some point,
Yeah.
too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
running
It's
around,
just so
and it goes through like a
goofy.
mouse hole or
Yeah.
a little hole in the
And
wall.
I love
Gets
the
caught in a mouse trap.
Yeah.
I love the sounds that it makes. It's like just
At
all
one
over
point,
the house.
whenever it flips him off, it actually you can hear it say "fuck you."
He's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it goes into the wall, and he starts just shooting holes into the
Uh-huh.
wall. And then
Uh-huh.
finally, he thinks he gets it.
Yeah.
But little blood starts coming through the wall.
Mhm.
But then,
And
like,
it starts to like.
Then all the blood.
blasted
Yeah.
by the blood. Yeah.
There's a few
So I wonder how they did that.
blood
Where-
soaking scenes.
And where
in
does all the
this.
blood go?
Yeah,
it
just
goes out, and then it
sucks
gets
back
sucked
in.
back in.
Yeah.
But then it turns like it's more like dark and
Yeah.
like visceral looking.
But he is
like-
just covered.
Oh, yeah.
He's covered.
and then it
It
goes
doesn't
back into
pull
the
off
hole.
of him.
No.
Yeah.
And then that's whenever I think he goes even more mad, right? Because he starts, or is this the laughing scene?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So the taxidermy deer starts being like,
Mhm.
Yeah. With its
And
weird mouth
possessed.
that doesn't move right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
Mhm. Mhm.
hinged.
Yeah.
And then the lamp starts laughing, then
Mhm.
everything's laughing, the books are laughing, the couch
He's
is laughing, he's
Yeah.
laughing. Yeah, everyone starts
Yeah, it's
Just
giving
laughing.
Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
All the furniture is
Ah.
just laughing,
Coming to life.
coming to
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
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 I think then that's whenever he starts going into like his maniacal, crazy laughter. Because I think I don't know if it's the possession or if he's just losing it himself.
He's just losing it.
right?
I think he's
Yeah,
just
because he's
losing
just like
it.
going crazy, and then he starts like dancing with the lamp.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like,
Yeah,
Yeah. He's gone nuts.
but
Yeah.
I don't remember what triggers him to start shooting again. The hand comes back, or
yeah, he hears a noise.
he hears a noise.
He
and
hears
then
a
just
noise
starts-
on the door and he
Yeah.
just shoots through the door.
because it's
and
Bobby Joe and them, and
Accidentally
Annie.
shoots Bobby Joe. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
then-
We get a straight up murder right in
Yeah.
the middle of the movie. Yeah.
right? Because then Jake and Ed bust through, and then they start just attacking him and getting him on the ground. And Bobby Joe comes in after Annie, and she's
Yeah.
like, "Oh,
Yeah, I guess it just grazed her shoulder
Yeah.
or
It
It
something.
did. Yeah.
yeah."
But-
and then immediately Annie looks at the chainsaw on the floor with the blood, and she then goes psycho on him because she's like, "What did you do to them?" Because I
Yeah.
guess she thinks he killed her parents.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is when they all decide they're like, lock him in the cellar.
Mhm.
So they throw him down the cellar, and this is where all the stairs break.
Yeah.
And as Jake is throwing him down, he was like, "You flat mouth son of a bitch." And I was like,
Flat mouth son of a
What
What does
bitch.
that
does
even
that
mean?
even mean?
It's all ad
It doesn't mean anything. It's just
It
stupid.
was all ad libbed, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Flat
I
mouth
just
son
thought
of a
it was
bitch.
so funny. I was like,
You start calling people flat mouths.
"You flat
Yeah.
mouth son
Doesn't
of a
mean anything.
bitch."
I guess. I don't know. I don't even know.
Tiny
Flat
lips,
mouth.
I guess.
Maybe.
Skinny lips.
But they're looking for, at this point, Annie's looking for her mom and dad, I believe, right? And they're
Yeah.
going through the house. Ed's with her, and she finds the like tape recorder and all that stuff, and the tapes of her dad speaking on there.
Yeah, about the Kandarian demons.
Mhm.
And she's basically finding out that Henrietta, her mom, is dead.
Yeah,
And she can only assume that her father is going to be dead soon too.
Yeah. And it doesn't take long because then we're introduced to Henrietta. She's down there with Ash and she starts revealing herself.
fruit cellar.
And immediately he's just like, oh my God. Like his reaction is so funny to me.
I
As
laughed
he's
so much.
freaking out and then back up the stairs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then she's pretty freaky herself. Creepy.
She is.
A little
yeah.
gross.
Yeah,
Little
yeah, that's the,
Little
like
gross.
it gives like on It, the remake, when the leper thing
Yeah.
was coming towards
Mm,
what's his name? Yeah. That's
Towards Ed's mom and towards Eddie.
Eddie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where we get Dead by Dawn, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Swallow Your Soul, Dead, by Dawn, all that. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I used to work in video stores when they were still a thing, and also owned 3 little video stores at one point.
Mhm.
And I used to take home all of the like stand-ups or mobiles or whatever stuff they would send
yeah.
us for the movies. And I had one that was Evil Dead 2. It was just a skull and it said Dead by Dawn on it. And it
That's
would like
super cool.
spin or whatever.
Oh,
yeah.
that's neat.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't keep it.
No, that's really awesome.
No, I think
RP. Is that your biggest regret?
Well, after moving.
no, I've got a lot of regrets. That's not the biggest one. Yeah, absolutely. Probably did something worse than that this morning.
Aw, yeah, that's life. And so he obviously is freaking out down there with Henrietta coming after him.
Yeah.
And then they end up pulling him out after, like, he's begging them to. And I think what Jake doesn't want to. And then Annie's like, let him out. And so
Yeah.
they end up getting him out. And then that's
Just in time. I mean,
Uh-huh.
Henrietta's like biting Ash's foot.
Yeah.
He's like just chewing on it.
right on him. Yeah.
And then she like transforms into this like dinosaur looking
with a long
monster.
neck.
Yeah, it's got
Yeah.
a long neck. And she's like
Starts biting
More
on him.
claymation.
Yeah. And then does Ed get bit at a certain point? Or he gets knocked down, right?
Who's Ed? The boyfriend?
The blonde guy. The
Okay.
blonde haired boy.
Yeah, I'm thinking he must have been
He had
bit or
to.
something,
Yeah.
or the demon just jumped from Henrietta to
That makes sense. Just possessing him.
yeah, put part of its demon self
He
into
is
him.
probably the best looking demon in all of it, though.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
they made him look fantastic.
Mhm.
Like when he's up on the thing and he's
And he's,
doing
like,
the
up
with
in
his
the air.
hands all raised up and all creepy.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Oh,
he looked cool.
And then in that process that I guess he got knocked over a bit, they're trying to push the demon back down, and this is whenever we get the head getting squished and the eyeball popping
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
and going into Bobby Joe's mouth,
Well, she just won't put her
Bobby
head
Joe
down.
chokes
on which was pretty funny.
Yeah, it
Um,
was.
And they eventually, thankfully, get her locked down there. But they're all like, I think, freaking out, and Annie, I think, wants to leave, but I think Bruce is saying like, we can't leave or
Right.
something. Like they're
Right.
everything's the bridge is
Yeah, the bridge
knocked
is
out.
out. Everything's done.
a
Yeah.
trail's not there, and then that's whenever her mother starts singing to her.
Yeah,
the
start
nursery
singing
rhyme.
Hush, bye, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Hush,
Or-
baby, don't say a word.
Yeah, Mama's
It's a
gonna buy
mockingbird.
you a
Yeah,
mockingbird.
Trying to trick her, but then Ash. I love how Ash is like stopped her,
Mhm.
like that's not her.
He becomes like a traffic cop. You know,
Yeah,
just like,
yeah.
"Nope."
Yeah. And then, I mean, quickly, she's just like, you're not my mother. Yeah. And you never were. Yeah. And then this is when the dude gets possessed and he like gets up in the air and starts
Uh-huh.
doing like the spinning. And,
Yeah.
and he's like Dead by Dawn and starts singing it with Henrietta.
Yeah.
And he goes and then like
bites off Bobby Joe's hair.
Bobby Joe's hair,
Mhm.
which is really
It's a
weird.
big chunk
And-
of
and
hair.
then
yeah.
he eats it.
He's like,
He's
"Yaw."
He
Yeah.
like starts like
yeah.
Yeah.
looks like when my cats start choking on their hair.
Oh no.
That's
yeah.
what he was doing.
But thankfully Ash comes to, and he gets up and he knocks him down or
Yeah.
cuts his head off or something like
yeah,
that.
starts hacking off his limbs.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And they
And
start
stuff,
flying
true.
everywhere. Yeah.
And
then
his blood's all green.
it's gooey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like slime.
Like an ooze that comes from the wall. And then we have Jake looking outside, and this is when he mentions that the trail is gone. He's like, it's as if the
Mhm.
woods sucked it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
The woods are bad news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then I think later on, even when Ash is like, if she went outside, she's good as dead.
Mhm.
And they're hearing lots of bangs and like thunder sounds and crashing from the room on the other side
Yeah.
behind
Yeah.
the door.
Well, and I think
Noises
they even
coming from
comment on it. It's like something's trying to get in.
Yeah.
You know, from
Yeah.
another world or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah.
She says at one point, Annie's like, it's so quiet. And then all of a sudden, it's just like sounds everywhere.
I love
I was
the
like, bitch, you cued it.
I love the head turns. Like boom, boom.
Yeah,
Mhm.
boom.
I was
They would
wondering
they would follow those sounds
Yeah.
around with their
because
head,
it was all like kind of longer shots too. So I was like, they must have cued him on like, they must have had to practice. Like,
Oh, they had to.
How-
Oh yeah.
because the head turns were so exact
Yeah.
that unless it was just legitimate,
It was choreographed.
they were, but it looked
Yeah.
so in sync. It was just like,
Yeah, they did a great job.
That's pretty cool. And then we have them. I love how they're like, Ash is like, okay, let's go check it out. We'll all go together. And Jake's like, you go. You're the curious one.
he's like, hell no.
Yeah.
I don't blame him. I would have said you go too.
Right?
Yeah. And then
but
Annie's
going out
like,
there.
I'll go with you.
Yeah, him and Annie go, and they go into the room. But then Jake and Bobby Joe end up coming in anyways.
Yeah. And then we get Annie's father's ghost
Mhm.
showing up, his little apparition. And he's basically seeing, like, you got to find the other pages, saves,
Recite the
says
passages.
salvation lies there in the pages that she found. And yeah, you have to recite them to dispel the evil.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then that's whenever Bobby Joe is like, Jake, you're holding my hand too hard.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm not holding your hand. And we find out it's Ash's dead
It's Ash's hand, yeah.
Ash's
Starts
hand.
freaking everybody out.
And then that,
as well it should.
Yeah.
Sure.
And the lights go out, so that makes it even worse.
and then
And then
she just goes running
She bolts out.
and screaming. And then she's just running and screaming. And all of a sudden she stops.
Mm-hmm.
She's just like,
Makes no sense.
just like, I'm fine now.
Yeah.
and
And then gets attacked,
Then
kind
gets
of like
attacked
the
by the
same
tree.
way in the first movie, but not so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
SA.
SA. And so we have her getting dragged horribly through the woods, which I'm sure probably sucks. I
Yeah,
bet her
pulling her across the forest
back
floor,
had a
hitting
lot
all
of
those,
splinters and the puddles of water and all the
Yeah.
branches.
hitting all the, what
It's
are
cool
those called?
shots,
Tree
though.
roots.
Yeah.
Cool shots though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I like how all the roots were like intertwining around her too. It was pretty cool.
And like becoming almost a part of her face.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They were like
Like, rooted in.
going
Poking
into her
and
skin.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love how they end up breaking the pages out of the glass box that they're in, and Ash is
Which I
talking
was
to
like,
Jake.
why did they have to break them out? Like, I'm sure there was a little.
They didn't have time.
No,
We gotta do this
dramatic
now.
effect,
Let's go.
yeah. Especially in the middle of Bobby Joe's
Break in
like,
case of emergency.
it's like what transitions the whole shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's pretty cool. And then we have Jake, whatchamacallit, being like, we need to go find Bobby Joe. And then that's whenever Ash is like, she's as good as gone if she's out there.
Yeah. If she went out in those woods, you
She
can
gone.
forget about her.
Yeah. And then they end up talking about how the passages Annie translates it. And one passage is to bring the evil into a physical form. And then the second is to then open up a rift to send the physical form back through it and get rid of it.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes sense, but seems like a big risk.
It is.
Yeah. And
None
so
of this makes any sense,
no,
but
it's
sure.
a cartoon.
Yeah, it is.
And so Jake, then this is one of my favorite parts because I'm like the audacity of Jake to then just be like at gunpoint, like, this is a bunch of crazy
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah.
This is mumbo jumbo.
Yeah.
We're gonna do what I want to do and go look for Annie.
Yeah.
And then
I
that's
mean,
when he
Bobby
steals
Joe.
the papers
Yeah.
and then throws them in the cellar, in which I was just like, why the fuck would you throw them in the cellar and not the fire?
Yeah, that was right behind
But-
him. Mhm.
Yeah. But we need them later.
Yeah.
So he makes them go out into the woods. The trees are all like moaning and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And then the freaking Bob, or not Bobby Joe, but Jake,
Yeah, he's screaming her name
tow
out.
truck man, is like sitting there screaming,
It's giving Jurassic
and
Park.
attracting
Oh, yeah,
all
yeah.
the
Mhm.
demons. And then the demons come and they get Ash.
Yeah, they kind of bypass Jake and get into Ash, and then Ash also to me at this point looked really good too as a demon,
Mhm.
in his demon.
Well, they both
form.
had that
Like
the same
waxy
look. Yeah,
almost,
yeah.
like-
Waxy, big protruding
Cheekbones.
cheekbones and stuff. Yeah.
almost like attractive demon. Like I don't know if that. I'm sorry. Ooh,
He
never
wore
mind.
some.
No, they weren't attractive.
Wait, unattractive demon? Is that what you
No,
just said?
attractive, like
Okay.
sexy
Yeah.
demon.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like they
Yeah.
just look
Okay.
like pretty demons, if that makes sense.
Pretty demons.
As
Sure.
opposed to like the other Deadites that we've been seeing and stuff.
Yeah.
Like
well,
that look
yeah,
all like
opposed
atrocious
to like Henrietta.
and like oily
Yeah.
and splotchy.
Yeah.
But
No,
yes,
they look like they mean business.
they
Yeah.
do. And then one, they also look stronger for some reason. I don't know what it is. But
Yeah.
he's then throws Jake, and then Jake's head goes into a tree, which I don't know how Jake didn't die from that
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah, it's just bonk.
Yeah, but cartoons. And then he then starts going after Annie, but she's able to get inside, isn't she?
Yeah. And she
Uh-huh.
conveniently finds this ceremonial looking knife.
Oh yeah, the dagger.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then she's.
Conveniently.
It was
Yeah.
so like
Oh, I
it was
know.
just like all of a sudden it's
Yeah.
laying there and
Oh,
she's like,
yeah.
oh, I'll take this.
Oh wait,
Yes.
this thing made out of someone's spine. I'll take that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's been like whittled down
Yeah.
to a sharp point. Yeah, I was like, okay, that's
It's a shank.
bizarre.
That is a shank.
Yeah.
But she finds
shank.
that and ends up accidentally stabbing Tow Truck Man in the stomach
Sucks.
whenever he
Yeah.
opens the door. She opens the door, right? And she
Yeah.
just
Yeah, not great.
stabs him.
And it's Jake. And then he's right in the abdomen stomach area. So I know that's not going to be good.
No.
And then she ends up, after stabbing him, she's just like, sorry. I'm sorry. And then doesn't really do too much.
But then Ash pops up and
Yeah.
she's like trying to get the door shut, and she's just like
Yes.
shoving
and she's
it
closing it on
closed
his
on him.
feet.
Well,
And-
first she's closing it on his like midsection, and then she pulls him in a little bit, but
And
not
it's not
far
enough.
enough.
Yeah.
And so then she starts like slamming it on his feet, and then pulls him more. And I was like, "Girl, you
Poor
couldn't
guy.
tell that he was still in the door frame."
Yeah.
She didn't care.
She didn't.
She's like, I didn't shutting these demons out.
And then that's whenever he ends up getting like he gets sucked into the basement somehow, like or
Yeah.
the demon grabs him or somehow he gets sucked in, and she's trying to fight it and hold him, but he ends up getting pulled in, and then
Well,
like all
and-
this blood.
And while
right?
while she's pulling him too, I loved the scene whenever he was just like, and then she was like, shut up,
Yeah.
shut up.
After she just stabbed him.
Yeah.
Well, because
I was
she's
like,
already
"Girl, this
she's
is
already
your
pulled it
fault."
out at this point,
Yeah,
right?
stop griping
Yeah.
about
Because
that
she's like,
big
I'm just
gaping hole in your
pull
stomach.
it out, which I
Yeah.
don't think you're supposed to do.
Yeah, you're
No,
not.
No.
probably not.
No, yeah.
I don't know the etiquette of a spine knife, but
Yeah.
I would assume you don't
It's even
pull it
worse.
out.
Probably
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Yes, because that's like
Mhm.
serrated.
It does more
Serrated.
damage pulling it
But
back
with
out
big
from
big
every angle.
chunks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's ribbed for no one's
Ribbed
pleasure.
for no one's pleasure.
And then he ends up
That's
getting
the quote of the day.
It
Thank
is.
you.
That's the
Good
title
job.
for the
You
episode.
We
did
should
it.
put that on
You
a
did it.
t-shirt.
Yeah.
And
Ribbed
so
for no one's pleasure.
we
BooBaes.
that's how, yeah, that's it's our
Yeah, that's
tagline.
good.
That's us.
And so at that point, and because all that blood is then getting like splattered everywhere through the not a trap door. What are those called?
It's a
Floor
cellar
door?
door.
Cellar
Cellar door.
door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Ash comes inside at this point, and I think now he's trying to attack Annie, and Annie's fighting him off at this point.
Yeah, he like fucking chunks
Oh,
her.
he does. Yeah.
Chunks her just against the wall, and then she lands on the couch and stuff.
Mhm.
I don't really blame him at this point, though, because you don't know who's possessed, who's not possessed. You don't
Well,
know
and
what's
he is
going on.
possessed at this point.
Well, yeah, that's true.
He
That's
is
true.
possessed. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
He's
Yeah,
possessed,
yeah.
and then she tries to kill him, but at this point, he like comes out of it, and that's
Yeah.
whenever
Because he
That's
finds the
right.
necklace, and the necklace's chain was in a skull shape.
Was it really?
I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
I've never noticed that.
I even
Huh.
rewound it to make
Yeah.
sure, but the way that it had two eyes and the little
Like the
mouthy
mouth.
part at
Yeah.
the bottom. Yeah,
That's
it
cool.
looked
Very
like a
nice,
skull to
Caitlin.
me.
Good job.
Anyways,
Good eye.
It could be that it was completely just unintentional and that was how it laid, but it
Oh,
looked
I
like a
doubt
skull
it.
to me.
It's
Yeah.
probably intentional.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's
But
intentional.
he ends up coming back and then trying to tell her like 5 times, and she's still. It's funny because she stops, and then out of nowhere she's like, "Ugh," and he's like, "No, I told you, I'm back.
I'm fine.
I am good." And this is whenever they end up going to the pages or to try to get the pages in the cellar. And so he goes
Yeah.
down there, and it's like it looks like, things have been thrown around. There's like water everywhere.
Mhm.
It looks really messed up and janky. And then he ends up getting the pages, and then that's whenever he ends up.
Yeah, it looks like a skull.
Yeah, I
going-
literally looked it up and looked.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So it does.
I didn't even
it looks
notice
just like a
that
skull.
at
I've
all.
never noticed it.
I really
That's
didn't.
awesome.
And they end up
Huh.
going to the shed, and this is where we have the cool scene of him the little
Becoming the
cut
original
scenes.
Chainsaw Man.
Yeah.
Original Denji.
So this is it right here, right? This is my money shot as far as the movie goes. Is all
Yeah.
of the chung, chung, boom, gong,
Yeah.
all of the quick shots, like him putting that thing together, jamming his arm in
Yeah.
it, all of that. Oh,
It was so cool.
that
It's
is
like a
the one.
montage, but not a montage, if that makes sense.
Yes, it absolutely
Yeah,
is. And
yeah.
if you watch any of Raimi's stuff after this, you'll see that shot a lot. Like he repeats
Oh,
those
and
things.
Spider-Man.
In Spider-Man.
Yeah.
In Drag Me to Hell, which is a good
I just
movie, by
rewatched
the
that
way.
one not too long ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Drag Me to Hell's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
It's
very
a little campy. The goat talking and all
it
that,
is a
dancing on
lot-
the table.
It's a lot of
The old
Evil
lady
Dead type stuff.
When
yeah.
she's like biting onto the
Mhm.
girl with her mouth.
yeah, yeah.
It's been
But you can tell
Wow.
he's even got
so
more
long
money
since I've seen
at
it.
that
Oh, yeah.
point, to make it look good. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Justin Long.
Justin Long is in like every other scary movie
Yeah.
ever.
My buddy
I
was
love
telling
him.
me about a movie that he has coming out where Justin Long is the mayor of this city. like this small town, but he's a serial killer also.
Oh, that's cool.
It's supposed to be like a horror comedy kind of thing. Anyway, I don't know the name of it, but
I'll have to look it up.
if it's got
Sounds
Justin
cool.
Long in it, I'll usually watch it.
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
love Justin Long.
It was what, Barbarian?
He was in
just
Barbarian.
Oh, yeah.
and
we were
like
talking about that one.
uncredited. You know, like you didn't even know he was in it
Oh, yeah,
until you
yeah.
watched the movie.
He wasn't
Yeah.
on like the main things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was great
Yeah,
in
'cause
that as a
you
real turd.
Really only got
Yeah.
he did play such a good asshole.
Yeah.
That I was like, wow, I didn't know Justin Long could be this mean.
Yeah. Well, he is a Mac.
What's that mean?
Do you remember those commercials where one guy was a Mac and one guy was a PC?
Oh,
He was the Mac.
Yes,
that's right.
true.
He's allowed to be an asshole. He was a Mac.
I
That's
forgot
right.
about
He
that.
was
Yeah.
the superior.
That's right. That's right.
But a dick about it.
So many
Yeah.
people.
And the
all
other one is
Android
the other guy
users
is
get
John
mad.
Hodgman.
I don't remember that.
He's the PC guy, and he's long storied comedy career.
Oh.
He has a podcast called Judge John Hodgman, where like
Oh.
he decides these things for people in a
Mhm.
funny way. Anyway.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
sounds
Anyway,
fun.
there you go.
That's pretty cool. And we get that really, all of this is happening, and then I love how whenever he's done with it, he just looks like at her, and he's just like groovy.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. At that point, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Groovy.
Yeah, and also pretty cool that he could do that all pretty fast, like literally, like
And that he had
attached
that
and then, like,
idea and stuff, and
then-
had that cool
then it
little
has, like,
thing to
mhm.
start the
Uh-huh.
to start it on.
He's
to
got the
where it
little
just
clip there, and he
pulls.
just
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
pulls it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah.
because I was also wondering like how does that work, but
Mhm.
he found a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this is
Life
whenever
finds a way.
this is right. He gets ready and then he goes down into does Jurassic Park, and then he goes down into the cellar and he's gonna get the pages. Which at this point, does anything attack him down there?
So he goes down and eventually he does get attacked
That's
by
right.
Henrietta, but
Yeah.
he finds one page and then we hear this like hissing sound that's coming from the other room.
Yeah.
And he's thinking it's Henrietta and he's going and going and going. And then all of a sudden it's just like the water heater.
I'm not
Mhm.
going in that
Or
effing
something.
basement.
No,
I'm not going down there.
no matter
Yeah,
what.
no.
Saints
Screw
are
that.
not.
No,
it's
screw that.
Henrietta down there. And then a skeleton pops out
Mhm.
and falls on him, who I don't know who that skeleton was supposed to be.
Mm.
But at first I was like, is that Henrietta's skeleton? And then,
I think it's the guy.
yeah,
I think
The
it's the
dad.
father. Yeah.
yeah.
That
Because
makes
it definitely
sense.
wasn't Henrietta.
Yeah,
Because
sure.
she pops up later. And I love whenever he goes back and he throws the papers up to Annie.
Mm.
And they're just like perfectly still stacked.
Yeah.
It's like they'd been glued all together.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
They probably were.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was really entertaining to
It
me.
was all that gloopy blood.
it was.
Yeah.
The green blood.
Yeah.
And then that's whenever she starts reciting the incantation, the first part of it.
Yeah, and Henrietta gets him from under the stairs.
Yeah.
She pops up.
She's gonna like gets him knocked out a little
Terrifying.
bit. Like, boom, gets him off his feet.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's it just plays into such a major fear for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like just getting a cellar,
Yeah.
but then B getting attacked on the stairs way up to from the
Getting
cellar.
out. Yeah.
Because everyone
going down.
always turns the lights off
And
and
then
then,
you run.
runs so fast up it. And
So
yeah.
there used to be a haunted house here in town. You know where the football stadium is?
Oh yeah.
Right across the street from the football stadium, there used to be like a warehouse.
Okay.
And that warehouse for a long time was a triple X shop, right? Like it had, you put the quarter in, you watch a movie, jerk off and leave or whatever, right? It was one of those kind of places.
Wasn't Summer Palace used to be there? Remember?
I don't know, maybe,
Okay.
maybe.
Okay, gotcha.
But anyway, that thing finally closed down.
Yeah.
Through the sheer will of Baylor. They shut it down, and then it became a haunted house for like, I don't know, it's 5 or 6 different Octobers. Like
okay.
Oh, wow.
it just sat there until
That time of
haunted
year.
time came
Mhm.
around, But that is the only one I've ever been in where you went down the stairs and somebody tried to grab you from under the stairs.
Oh.
That sucks.
Yeah.
You do that, I'm kicking you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not making me trip down these damn stairs.
Yeah, I know. I was like, that sounds like a lawsuit waiting to happen.
Yes. Yeah, it sucked.
Well, and also like if
That's
they
so
touch you, it's
scary.
like unless you signed a waiver, which I'm
Mhm.
sure you did.
I don't think
Didn't.
so.
Yeah.
Not at this time. Mm-mm.
Yeah. Then like I feel like that's a grounds
It
for
was
like
like, we
nah,
got through
it's
Halloween,
too
only
far.
one death.
Too far.
Or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
it
was
was-
only one death.
I did not
I'm
like
here for the
that.
illusion of fear, not real
No,
fear.
Don't be grabbing my feet.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's weird.
But he after she recites the first part of the incantation, she gets attacked by Henrietta.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And she's like flying around
Mhm.
and just like like
Being evil.
nomming on her head and stuff.
Henrietta reminds me of like a Thanksgiving Day blimp at this point.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah,
She was really bloated.
she was.
Well, I mean, just the flying
Well,
around and the whole thing, you know?
Yeah.
Just the, yeah.
And she looks.
And why don't they fly more often?
That's
I mean,
true.
I would think you could attack more people if you're flying.
Yeah.
You know, but
I
just
feel like
every
they would
once in a while.
possess that skill.
Yeah.
It's.
No pun intended.
I mean,
Mhm.
we saw Ed. Right, is his name
What?
Ed, the boyfriend?
Oh yeah.
We saw the
When he was
boyfriend
up
fly
earlier.
Yeah.
earlier too.
Yeah.
So
But why
I'm
don't
just
more
saying,
of them
just
do
fly.
that? Yeah.
yeah,
Grab them, throw them in a
fly
pit,
everywhere.
something.
And then Ash ends up coming back too, and he gets back upstairs, and that's whenever he's trying to fight Henrietta, and then that's whenever her head starts turning into that like
Dinosaur
Yeah.
looking thing.
Yeah.
Gets the long ass neck.
which reminds me of like SpongeBob, the chocolate. You know what
Yeah.
I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Her head. And
what?
they're selling what?
Chocolates.
And so this is whenever he's fighting with her now, and I think Annie is still trying to read the incantations, but Henrietta somehow. Oh, that's right. The hand, doesn't it stab? Is that not yet? Wait, hold up.
That-
No, not
not
yet.
quite.
Not yet.
Yeah.
No, because you're right. She ends up singing the Mockingbird. This is when she sings
Yeah.
it.
Hush,
Annie sings it
Mhm.
Don't say a
to
word.
distract it.
Yeah, and then Ash ends up basically dismembering it,
Yeah.
and then the head's still going, and she's like, "I'll swallow your soul. I'll swallow your soul."
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes, "Hey, swallow this."
Blows her head up.
Boom.
I put standing ovation for that line.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Ash is very good at that. I have a soft spot in my heart for any funny asshole,
Mhm.
and Ash definitely fits that bill. Like he was one of the first for me. Like he's
like
really
an anti-hero.
honestly, Ash is a dick. I mean,
Yeah.
he's not a great guy,
Yeah.
but he gets thrown into this situation, and the humor and the ridiculousness that comes with it, he makes a very good anti-hero, like you
Mhm.
say. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I love how this sets up for Army of Darkness, all the different quotes and stuff, you know, like give me
Mhm.
some sugar and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The
Anyway.
one-liners.
Yeah. Those are
the
my
punchlines.
favorite.
And then Annie has to finish the passages because at this point, all
The
of
trees
the
are
evilness
attacking
is
the house.
has its physical form now because
Yeah.
she recited the first part.
And it's
Klaatu
Put it into
Barada
flesh.
Necto.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and then this is where the hand pops up and stabs Annie with a ceremonial looking
Yeah.
knife.
Right in the back.
Stabs her in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And with her last breath, she finishes the incantation for the
Kanda.
second
Mm-hmm.
for the second passage.
Yeah, and then the portals, the portals, the portal starts, the rift in space and time starts
portals.
opening.
Bust the door down.
And yeah, and it does, and then like all the evil starts going back into it, and then the book goes into it, and then I love how it just like gets real quiet for a second, and we think like, oh,
It's like the eye of a
over.
tornado
Fine.
kind of
Yeah,
thing. Yeah.
it's fine, everything's good now. But then it just like goes crazier, and then the whole house starts getting sucked into the portal, and then we have Ash getting sucked in there to it.
Finally.
That's
That's when he gets the stripe in his hair, right?
I think so.
Like, doesn't he get the white stripe in his hair because
Oh,
he's so
maybe.
scared? Yeah.
Mhm.
Like it's
Very
like shows it.
rogue.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
I don't
Yeah.
remember seeing
Yeah.
that.
Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah,
but
that kind of thing.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
But he ends up getting sucked in and then falling kind of
Mhm.
into a
Medieval.
He falls through what looks like just Christmas lights.
It does look
It's
like
just a bunch of
Yeah.
Christmas lights is all.
Yeah.
it is.
and then some lightning.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah. And
It's a
then-
good portal whatever. It's a good representation of what you think a portal would be.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean,
reminds me of like we're going plaid,
yeah.
Spaceballs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, then it's like left to your imagination because I mean, a portal could be
Sure.
anything. We don't know what
Sure.
it looks like
Yeah.
anyways.
Sure.
We
Yeah.
have no clue.
Could be
We've
all
never
bunnies.
been.
It could be.
Yeah.
Or just
Yeah.
nothing. Or just
Yeah.
yeah, who knows? Just light. Just
Or
white.
maybe portals.
Portals
aren't
are
a
always
thing. I don't
usually
know.
like depicted as like black things, right?
Mhm.
Like dark
Mhm.
nothingness. But what if it is
Yeah.
just nothing but light?
Could be.
You know, just
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Could just be Christmas lights
Mhm.
all the way down.
and then
Christmas lights.
he ends up like you said, being transported to looks like medieval times. But I don't think it's medieval times. I don't know what it is.
It is.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's medieval times. Yeah.
And this
not the place
Okay,
with the
yeah.
turkey legs,
Yeah.
but actual medieval
not the
times, yeah.
Renaissance.
Yeah.
But in this
Renaissance.
in this universe, we have Deadite,
Yeah.
pterodactyl
Yeah.
looking things.
Yeah.
That-
Well, he falls, then the
Yeah.
car falls.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
does
Which
the car fall
confused me.
first? One or the
No,
other.
he falls first,
Yeah.
which confused me because the car went way before him.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Sure.
yeah,
But maybe
Gravity doesn't apply in a portal.
and maybe
no logic.
maybe the car was too big to fit through the
Sure.
portal, and so it had to
It took a little
shove
time.
its way
I
through.
think you're
Yeah.
thinking way too
little bit.
deep on this thing. But
Yeah.
sure, yeah.
It's a cartoon.
Yeah.
And
Very much
yeah,
is.
because then, well, first, before we get introduced to the Deadite thing, we have all the men in shining armor
Uh-huh.
and riding on horses
Yeah.
surrounding him, and they say we need to kill him because he's a Deadite.
Mhm.
But then we have an actual Deadite coming, and then he's able to
Bam.
blow its head right off.
With a shotgun.
And then they all start praising him, and they're saying Hell Ash because he fell from the sky and was able to, I guess, kill the Deadite.
Well,
Yeah.
they
he who comes
Yeah,
from the sky,
sky.
and delivers
I
him
mean,
from the terror of the Deadites.
There you
Yeah,
go.
I mean,
Yeah.
And
seems
he was
prophetic.
the guy in the book that we saw
Right.
earlier, because in the
Right.
book she found this page.
and he
and
was
it-
like, "What is that?"
Yeah,
It
you don't
clearly
realize.
looked like him.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I did.
Well, but I'm saying,
I was like,
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah,
Ash.
yeah.
yeah.
I didn't even know though that the time portal was.
But she found
part
it
of this.
before the gun, right? Before he had the shotgun and the chainsaw.
Oh, it was pretty early
Yeah.
on.
yeah. But in the
yeah.
book, he's got both of those, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
does.
And it was predetermined.
And he's
almost.
like holding the chainsaw
Mhm.
up, which I
Yeah,
thought
that's
he
smart.
was gonna hold the chainsaw up, but he didn't.
Well, wait. He holds the
The
shotgun up.
Shotgun
It's like
up.
that.
Yeah, he holds
Oh,
the
okay.
shotgun up. Yeah, because in the second one, he's like, "This is my boomstick."
Oh,
Yeah,
is that?
yeah. There's a little painting of it back there.
Mhm.
Yeah,
With
it's,
Hank.
it's
Yeah.
halfway Hank, halfway Ash.
Ash.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Cool. But
one
yeah,
of my children painted that.
That's super cool.
that's cool.
Yeah, it shows you what I've done to him.
They know their father. But yeah,
But he was guy in the book,
and I love
that's-
I love how he ends it too with just like screaming no. Yeah, and then
It's
that's
very
the
much a
movie.
callback to like old horror movies and old dinosaur stuff and things like that. You know, it's very much a
Mm.
De Laurentiis
Yeah,
callback.
it looked like the land in between
Land of the Lost
Land of the
kind of thing.
Lost. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's what it was
Mhm,
giving.
mhm.
Yeah.
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 But yeah, and then that's how we end the movie.
That's
The Evil
it.
Dead 2.
That's it.
It's really it's only an hour and 25 minutes.
It is. It's
pretty
a very
short
fast movie.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It is.
I can't imagine what it took to make it.
Mhm.
Because you think about the time that it was made, and even though they had money, it couldn't have been that much.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
and just all of the effects and all of the stuff.
Yeah.
Because back then,
all
I
that
mean,
claymation.
well, yeah, I mean,
Claymation takes so long.
forever.
The
It's one
time.
shot move, one shot
Yeah.
move, one shot move. Yeah, it's a lot of time spent on a movie like this.
Yeah. I wonder how much like was also him too, like, and his own like friends and stuff, like
Mhm.
putting in their own effort.
Well, from what I understand, there's like 4 of them,
Yeah.
and that was it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I want to say that one of the guys, and it may have been the blonde guy, was
Mhm.
their friend as well.
Mm.
It's one of them is.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's like putting on a show in your mom's backyard
Yeah,
or something,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
That's what it gives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It
then
gives,
somebody
like,
gives you a bunch of props and you do the show again.
gives like a labor of love,
Yeah.
like a passion.
Very
for
much
it.
so.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
just or like you and your friends doing something.
Everybody
For the
out
thrill of it.
Everybody out of Detroit, Michigan.
Yeah.
That's where they're all from.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that's another reason he played to the Pontiac, because you think about Detroit in the old days. I mean, it was all automobile manufacturers and
Factories.
stuff like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh.
Old school, all made out of not iron. What's it?
American Steel.
Yeah, steel. All made out of American steel. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's
That's
pretty
neat.
dope.
So
yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
You guys didn't even take a break in this one.
Oh, that's right.
That's amazing.
I forgot.
Good job.
Whoops.
It's
Well,
okay.
We'll find a spot.
We'll be right back.
Yeah.
No.
right at the end. But yeah, do you have any fun facts for this?
I do. Let's see. So, during the scene where the severed head of Linda bites Ash's hand, Bruce Campbell says the single line "work shed." This line was later redubbed in post-production due to the quality of the audio, giving it a strange,
Oh,
slightly
sure.
disproportionate sound to the audio.
Mm.
9 years later, while filming his cameo in Escape from L.A., the first thing Kurt Russell said to Bruce Campbell on the set was jokingly, "work shed." Let's see. Stephen
so
King
funny.
was...
Have you ever seen that?
No.
Escape from LA?
I haven't seen it.
It's bad. It's a bad movie. Escape from New York is one of my favorites
Mhm.
because, again, it's just the time period, right? I think it's like 82 or something like that. So I
Mhm.
saw it when I probably shouldn't have seen it.
Which one came first?
Escape from New York.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was LA just trying to bank
LA
off
was
like
96.
It was just them making another one.
Huh,
You know, that's all it was. Yeah.
like a lethal weapon?
Oh, yeah. Stephen King was such a huge fan of The Evil Dead that he convinced producer De Laurentiis over dinner, who was producing King's Maximum Overdrive at the time,
Oof.
to have his production company, DEG, finance Evil Dead 2.
Maximum Overdrive's a terrible movie.
Is it?
It is an awful, awful Stephen King movie. Yeah.
Sam Raimi credits Stephen King with making this film possible. Raimi couldn't acquire enough money to fund the production, so King, a huge fan of the original, convinced them to give them the money that they need, basically.
Wow.
Raimi later made appearances in the miniseries The Stand and The Shining, 94 and 97, respectively.
That's cool.
And then...
Well, The Shining was the TV version, right?
Yeah.
With the guy from Wings.
Yeah.
Which I think is
miniseries.
actually pretty good, honestly.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's really, it's not bad. Yeah.
And then Rosebud,
Closer
the supposed...
to the book, I'm sorry.
Than the actual.
Sorry to interrupt you, but it is closer to the book. Yeah.
Rosebud, the supposed film production company, was not a real institution. Producer De Laurentiis was forbidden to release an unrated movie through his own company, so Rosebud was created specifically for the purpose of releasing Evil Dead 2.
It's like a pseudonym.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I was funny too because when it came up at the beginning of the film, I was like, I've never heard of that for anything else. Yeah.
We know Rosebud. I mean, that refers to like the Citizen Kane thing.
Oh no.
So like Citizen Kane, that was his whole deal. He kept saying, like, as he was dying, he'd say Rosebud, and it goes back to the sled he had as a child. That's what he was talking about. He just wanted those fond memories and stuff. So that's where the Rosebud thing comes in.
I see.
I thought we were just talking about a prolapsed asshole.
Well, I guess it's all the way you look at it. I don't know.
Yeah. Rose-colored glasses, lenses.
Yeesh.
Was that all for the fun facts? Fun facts.
That was
We'll
fun.
fact it up.
And they were
ratings.
facts.
Yeah,
They were.
Good job.
Hopefully.
Well,
Can I tell you about something real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I again, just huge fan of this movie. I'll watch it anytime and everywhere it's on. Went to see the musical. You ever heard of the Evil Dead musical?
No.
There's an Evil Dead musical.
Evil Dead musical. Yeah.
Wow.
Went to see that in San Antonio at anyway, it doesn't matter. Beautiful theater, but the first 3 rows, y'all know who Gallagher is? You ever heard of Gallagher?
Yeah.
I think
He used to
so.
smash watermelons, and he was a comedian and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And the thing about Gallagher is like the first 3 rows, they would have to bring like umbrellas and stuff because they would get covered in watermelon juice or whatever. Same deal with Evil Dead musical. The first 3 rows were the splash zone because you would get blood on you.
Oh,
Yeah, it was.
pretty
That's
cool.
It's
cool.
fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
I've got a shirt from it, and every time I wear it, people are like, that's fun. I said, no, it's a real. I mean, it's a real thing. You know, we actually went to see it. It was a touring thing. Like it went all over the
Wow.
place.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very good.
That's really cool. That's neat.
And it's all
I'd
based
see
on the second one. Really, it's
Yeah.
not. It has
Yeah.
very little to do with the first one.
Well, that's pretty cool. More horror movies should be turned into musicals.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd watch a
I
musical.
agree.
Beetlejuice.
That's right.
Yeah.
Beetlejuice has its own musical.
Yeah.
Beetlejuice does have one. Yeah, Beetlejuice 2 is on its way.
That's right.
Yeah.
How exciting.
What's her name
with
from-
Jenna Ortega.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. She looks like she could be her daughter.
And they're bringing back original people, I believe, too,
Yeah.
like Michael Keaton, Winona, and stuff. I mean, I don't know more than that, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Love it.
Tim Burton, whatever he does, I'll see it.
Yeah.
Same deal with Raimi, Burton, whatever.
Tim Burton doesn't make many bad things.
He doesn't.
No,
And it's all stylized. So, I mean, if
you
even
know
if-
a Tim Burton film when you see one.
yeah.
Yeah.
And even if it's a bad movie, you're still like, oh, that was a Tim Burton movie.
Mhm.
You know,
So-
it's still cool.
Still good.
It's gonna make sense because it's Tim Burton.
Yeah.
Or it doesn't make sense because
Yeah,
it's Tim Burton.
you got it.
Mhm.
You got it.
But yeah, boo ratings. We
Boo
ready for a boo
ratings.
rating? I think I'm gonna give the Evil Dead 2 a solid 4.0 rating.
This is 1 to 5.
Yes.
1 to 5.
0 to 5, I guess?
0 to
Yeah.
5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
A good 4.0. I mean, I enjoyed the sound throughout the whole movie. I thought like the sound of it was really cool because throughout
Done
the
well.
entire movie, and I also watched it with my headphones on,
Mhm.
so like you hear everything, and throughout the
Yeah.
entire movie, there's always a carefully planned out creak or sound or
You can-
ominous.
You can really tell that they spent a lot of time on the sound.
Department
Yeah.
of it,
Yeah.
which I think really carries the movie because, like we said, there's a lot of like kind of, for the better term, like hokey pokey kind
Yeah.
of like effects
Yeah.
and stuff, and so it
Yeah.
really adds to where it makes it seem a bit more official and like, you know, more climactic than anticlimactic.
The Foley work in it, which is like the sound work and stuff, is excellent. They did a really good job. Not all of the camera work is stellar, but you can certainly see like a young Sam Raimi developing, you know, and just those cool quick shots. Those will always
style.
get me. Always.
Yeah.
And you can see And now watching this, I can see like all the references that now pop culture has made from the movie.
Well, and that's an important thing here, right?
The
Like
influence.
a lot of people, I mean, you guys are way younger than me, but when you watch these things, you're watching them out of context, you know, because you don't know the time, you don't know what was going on, and you don't know really what came before the other thing.
Yeah.
And without Evil Dead, you would not have a lot of the tropes that you have in horror movies these days. Cabin in the Woods is a great, it basically is an Evil Dead movie for the most part. You know, it's just cameras and stuff.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's a like new updated take
Cabin
on
in the Woods
thing.
is
It's pretty funny. Pretty
fucking
good.
awesome.
Yeah.
It's a great
I think
movie.
we ended up both rating it like a 5 or
5.
something.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Yeah.
You're great tongue-in-cheek comedy / horror.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
And even twists, because before I watched it the first time, it totally got me with the twist.
Well,
I
you
was
just
like,
feel
oh,
like you just feel like it's a teenagers having sex and getting high movie, you know, where they get killed. It feels like a Friday the 13th movie at first.
It feels
and
familiar.
then it twists real quick.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's great.
Mm-hmm.
It is so good.
But with
So
that,
Evil Dead 2, what's your rating?
Well, what's yours?
No, I'm
no,
going last.
Caitlin,
You're
you go
going
first.
last?
You got
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably give this film. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed watching it, and it was such an easy watch.
It
Like
is.
that, I was like, I could turn this on anytime and be able to get through this, and it didn't have as many problematic aspects in it as the first one did. And it
You're
just
talking about the roots and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Sam Raimi
Yeah, it's rough.
deliberately even didn't
Yeah.
want to recreate that or something like that.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
probably
Well,
good
there's
idea.
there's an interview where he says he regrets that scene. And
Well, it's a
filming
bunch
that
of college students, right?
Yeah.
And making bad decisions and
Yeah.
just doing fast stuff as fast as
Shock
they can.
factor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Move
Yeah,
fast,
and
break
it did
things.
have shock factor.
Yeah.
But this film I thought was just really enjoyable and easy to get through, and the effects were so much better, like light years better than the first one, and it was just really, really fun to watch. I really enjoyed it, so I'll probably give it a 4.5.
Yeah, it shows you what you can do with practical effects.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lost art these days. One of the things that is currently pissing me off as an old white man is that when you see fire in a movie these days, generally it's CGI fire, and you can
Yeah.
always tell.
You can tell.
Just light a fire. Come on, really? Just
light
set
the
something on
person
fire.
on
Well, that's
fire.
what I'm saying, right? There's a whole whole
there was-
industry built on lighting people on fire.
That's
you
what I was
know?
gonna
So,
say. Yeah. Give them some work.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I don't remember the last thing we watched, but this car blew up, and it just doesn't look right.
It's like Smile.
You know?
When we watch Smile.
Oh, right,
A lot of
when
that was
she went
super
up
CGI, but yeah, you could tell like all of that is
You can
not real
always
flame.
tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to see a CGI lion or anything.
Or like
you know what I'm
CGI
saying?
blood.
It just doesn't look
Yeah, that's not
right.
your
It's just
fave.
not there
Mhm.
yet. Yeah, it's just not there yet.
Yeah.
But as far as this movie goes, I mean, it's a 4.9 for me. I mean,
Yeah.
it's almost a 5. The only reason it's a 4.9, if I were to watch it completely out of context, I'd probably say like 3.5 or something like
Yeah.
that, you know. But having my context and my life interwoven in this thing, it's a solid 4.9.
Mhm.
Can't give it perfect because of the claymation weird
Yeah.
dance thing. I mean, I understand where it comes from and all that, but again, can't give it perfect. But this and Office Space are both at a 4.9 for me.
Cool.
nice.
Yeah. So and then yours was a
4.5.
right? So 4.5, 4.9. I think it's still a solid 4.5,
Yeah,
right?
we're still
Yeah.
at a solid 4.5, 4.7, something
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, the movie, after talking about it now with you as well, it's funny how when you talk about something, you can even gain
Yeah.
even more deeper appreciation of the film itself.
And this is a very good example of knowing the behind the scenes stories make it a much better watch.
Yeah.
You know, over the years, I've learned a lot about, you know, the way they made this and the people that were involved. And it's done nothing but make it a bigger movie for me, you know. Now, Army of Darkness, whole different thing, whole different movie.
Yeah.
Army of Darkness is not a horror movie.
I've heard it's like
Army of Darkness is a big, goofy movie.
more camp.
I love it, but it's goofy as hell.
I've not
Yeah.
seen it.
haven't seen
Yeah,
it either.
it is. You talk about a cartoon. That is a cartoon. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's fantastic. I love it because it's Ash and it's all that. Now, did either one of you ever watch the Ash versus Evil Dead TV show?
No, but I
No.
heard it was really good.
It is very good.
Yeah.
And if you like this universe, that is a place to go because it does answer a lot of questions.
What is
and
that
they do
on?
a lot of- it was on, I think, AMC or something. I don't know what
I think it
on,
was
but you can
AMC.
find it almost
Yeah, yeah.
anywhere at this point.
Yeah.
It may even be on Netflix at this point, the whole series run.
Oh, okay.
I think it was 2 seasons, something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's probably about 20 episodes.
It's like directly like related, like all.
It is. It's
yeah.
Ash. Yeah, and he is working.
Is it Bruce Campbell?
Yeah, he's
Oh,
working
wow.
in S-Mart. Yeah, just like he is at the. Is it at the end of this one that he ends up in S-Mart?
No.
No. Okay.
At the end of this one, he ended up in the
The medieval.
medieval
time.
Yeah.
place, just in the
Okay.
thing. Yeah.
Well, watch Army of Darkness, and you'll understand what he worked at a place called S-Mart, which is kind
Like
of
a Kmart.
It's like a Kmart.
Okay.
Yeah. And the Deadites cross over into that time, and
Mhm.
I always thought the S-Mart could have been like its own thing.
Hmm.
But anyway, that's me thinking way too much about
Yeah,
the stupid
yeah.
movies.
That's cool.
Your favorite movies? Nah.
They
not
are.
stupid.
They are.
Yeah.
They're some of my favorites. Yeah.
Well,
That's
thanks for joining
exciting.
us, Mike.
Yeah, man. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed this. Thank y'all for finally doing it.
Yeah.
This is cool.
I know
That's
it's
pretty cool.
been a long time coming.
Now,
Next
can
one
I?
we got to do is rubber.
Yes, I would love. That's right up there. That's a 4.9 as well. Not to spoil anything, but Rubber is the most ridiculous thing you'll ever watch.
Yeah.
Now, I know this has nothing to do with these movies, but I'm going to ask y'all about something just real quick because the 4th one is about to come out. I have just binged the 3 Hell House LLC
Oh,
movies.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Have y'all
We've
seen
covered.
those?
Yeah,
We
we
covered
covered
the first
Hell
one.
House.
I thought you did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've now watched all 3 of them. And then the 4th one comes out, I think, at the end of this month.
Oh,
Oh.
exciting.
Yeah. And so I'm super excited to see it. These are not the greatest movies in the world,
Mhm.
No,
but they're really well done.
I really enjoyed Hell House.
they remind me of
That's
like
right.
a Sam
I did
Raimi kind
see
of thing.
Yeah.
you
Shutter
know?
posted
Some
that
friends
Hell House
making
was
movies.
about to come
And this
out.
one's an origins. So it tells you how all this stuff came
Yeah.
to be. The clown and the whole thing. Yeah.
Which is always
Yeah.
needed.
Ugh,
Yeah.
The clown in
From the
Hell
get-go,
House
'cause we're always
so
like,
scary.
The clown in Hell House is very scary. Yeah.
Just the
Just
way
when
that
he
it
turns
sits
his head
there
or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's creepy as hell.
And then whenever it just pops up in the hallway.
Yeah.
Oh,
This
no,
is-
yeah,
that-
that scared the shit out of me.
Hell House to me is a very good representation of what you can do with no money whatsoever.
Yeah.
And you can still make a good movie.
Hell House is the one where they end up getting buried in the end, right?
No,
Alive?
that's
a
the
different
house is October built.
one. Oh,
Yeah.
that's the other one. My bad.
No, this
that
is-
also had sequels.
Yeah, this is
right?
Yes.
Hotel Abaddon, and they're putting on a haunted
New
house.
York.
In
I
it.
remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah.
yeah.
And for some reason, somebody lets somebody else put on a haunted house there later. So I
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
I don't get that.
Because
But they do mention at one point that the town may be complicit in the thing.
Mhm.
So that's the only thing that really explains it to me. But that's
Yeah.
way too far into Hell House. So
it was a good. I would recommend you go watch those films and go listen to our Hell House episode. It was fun.
another easy watch.
Yeah.
Like if you
Yeah.
turn those on, you can pay 75% attention and still get what's
It's
going
not-
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like Malum where
The one we just
you
watched.
don't.
I feel like you'd probably. Like
Yeah,
that.
I have never
Yeah.
heard of Malum until y'all brought it up in that episode. So
It was pretty
I plan on
good.
watching that. Yeah,
I gave it a 4.5.
I like found footage stuff. I just
This one's not found footage all the way.
really
It's
like-
got found footage aspects, but it's only like it's like she literally found some footage
yeah.
and watches it throughout the film.
Mhm.
But
Mm.
They drive the narrative.
Gotcha.
yeah,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Uh huh.
Yeah. My favorite found footage movie will always be what's the one with the big monster?
Cloverfield.
Cloverfield.
Yeah, Cloverfield.
Mm.
Cloverfield will
Cloverfield's so
always be
good.
my
We've
my
covered that as
favorite
well.
One.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen to our
It's
Cloverfield
just so
episode.
good.
Yeah, I like Cloverfield.
And it's
especially when
got-
it came out.
You talk about a lot of Easter eggs. That
Yeah.
fucker has a lot of that stuff in it, like the
Mhm.
stuff falling from the sky that you don't see the first time and everything.
Oh.
Yeah, that and
Yeah,
Blair
well, they-
Witch. I mean,
Mhm.
those
Yeah,
are
Blair Witch, so good.
Blair
We've
Witch
also
is
covered that.
kinda
Go
like
listen
the-
to that
Blair-
episode.
blue-
That's what I'm trying to do. I'm just throwing up business for you. Is all this is. But yeah, Blair Witch
Shameless
is
plugs.
Blair Witch is one of those that scared the shit out of me as an
Mhm.
adult in a theater.
Yeah, I remember you
I
saying
couldn't
that.
imagine watching it in the theater.
Mm.
Yeah, that's probably really scary.
Well,
All black around
The
you.
problem
and
is
dark.
at the very end when everything just kind of goes, you know,
Yeah.
they turn the lights on immediately, like all the lights,
Yeah.
and that'll
It's like,
scare
"Ah."
the shit out of
Yeah.
you. Yeah,
It shocks your senses.
yeah. I
Mhm.
think my wife was pregnant at the time, and I may have left her. I don't know.
because you
like-
were that spooked.
Get out of here!
Oh, I thought you meant like you left
No,
her.
no. That's not what I meant.
You're
No,
like,
no, no.
you know what? This movie made me
Like,
realize
say
we're
goodbye,
not meant
dirt.
for each other.
I don't love you anymore. Bye.
Oh God,
I was like, wow, Mike.
Yeah, well, it's
eye opening.
has an important place in my life.
Yeah, we can see that.
Second marriage was Mickey's Christmas Carol. That's what broke us up. I'm just making that up.
Mickey's Christmas Carol.
It's Donald Duck Scrooge.
Yeah. And then, well,
What do y'all have
anything more
coming
to
up?
add?
What do y'all have coming up?
So we're going to be doing, we don't know in which order, but we're going to be doing Barbarian.
Oh,
Yes, Barbarian.
We're going to be doing
Barbarian's pretty kick.
Talk to Me, this movie that came out 2022.
The new A24 movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I've
With the
not seen
hand.
that, but yeah, I've heard
I watched it. It's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Is it? Yeah.
It looked like it was good. I wanted to see it in theaters, but didn't
Yeah.
have the time. I'm going to see the new Exorcist today.
Are you?
Cool.
Yeah.
I've heard mixed.
I haven't heard too much.
I really
of it. I haven't
wanted it
looked
to be
into
good.
Yeah. I'll let you know what
Yeah,
I
please
think.
let me know.
What's it called? Like New Beginnings or something like that? Or
Exorcist.
I don't even know.
I almost said A New Hope.
Exorcist,
New Hope.
Electric Boogaloo.
The Empire Strikes Back.
Oh,
The Force
almost fell off
Awakens.
my chair. Yeah, I really wanted that to be good because the first Exorcist, I mean, it's creepy as hell. It's not super scary, but it is creepy. And
Yeah.
And have you ever watched any of the? This is getting way off in the deep here, but there's a show on Shudder where they talk about all the weird stuff that happened behind the scenes, and that was one of the episodes. It's
Yeah.
really good.
People getting sick, people getting hurt,
yeah.
and people dying like after
Two people,
production.
actually died.
What was
yeah.
that? Is that the
Linda Blair broke a
her back?
vertebrae.
Yeah, whenever he
because of the machine was
the-
throwing her all over the place. But that was the director also. The director was a total tool.
So he like
Exorcist
slapped her and stuff. and,
Believer.
like, the
Well,
believer.
he shot a gun off, a real gun off on set just to get people's reactions on film.
Yeah.
And like the one lady, the mother, she gets thrown against the wall.
Yeah.
She actually got hurt, and that's the take they used.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, this guy's like
Pretty
a
wild.
method director or
And
something.
then they talked about how they punched that one guy in the face.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
To get a
to
reaction. out of
deliver
him.
the last rites
Yeah.
and stuff
Yeah.
to get that
Max
reaction
von
out of him.
Sydow.
We've also covered The Exorcist. It was our
We have.
first episode.
It was. The Exorcist was a good one. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I
Thanks
appreciate
for
the
having-
invitation. Thanks for letting me
Yeah.
be here.
Thanks for coming on, Mike. And then, like as always, we are in the lovely Rogue Media Network studio.
That's right. They take great care of us, and you can listen to us and all the other amazing podcasts on their network all in one central place, and that is
RogueMediaNetwork.com.
.com. And
Can I put in a plug for something?
yeah.
I have very much wanted somebody to do a horror review show, but not what you guys do.
Mhm.
What I want is people to review old-timey horror movies.
Mm.
So like Nosferatu, the original Frankenstein,
Uh-huh.
Boris Karloff stuff, Dracula, things like that. I would love that kind of review show. So if there's anybody out there that loves horror movies and wants to do something like that, hit me up.
Do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And then
We'll
we
cover
could do
them
It'd be a
eventually.
great partner for
Compare.
you. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
be a good
yeah.
partner.
Because we've covered some older ones. I think
Yeah.
maybe the oldest one we've covered though has been Psycho.
Yeah. But I think that's the only one.
And that's in
We
the
haven't
Psycho's
covered
60s.
more
anything.
of a horror, though. What I
Yeah.
want is like monster movies.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
Creature
Like
from Black
Frankenstein.
Lagoon.
Creature films.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
Even Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy or something like
Yeah,
that.
Young
that kind of stuff.
Frankenstein.
Young Frankenstein, now that's a whole different animal.
That's such a good movie.
If you want an in-depth conversation with me, talk about Young Frankenstein sometimes.
Oh.
Yeah. Any of the Mel
I love
Brooks
him.
properties, honestly.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
Oh, it's so good. It's got Gene Wilder.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
as
Great
Mhm.
knockers.
a
Why,
young
thank you.
Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
It's really
I'll look
good.
Willy Wonka.
Willy Wonka. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
R.I.P. Didn't he go crazy?
Gene Wilder?
Yeah.
No, he didn't go crazy. He was married to Lorraine. No. Yeah. Lorraine Newman from Saturday Night Live.
Oh, okay.
And she got cancer and got real bad.
Oh.
And then he had to anyway. It's he was a very good guy.
Mm.
Good
Yeah.
guy.
But
You can always check us out.
yeah, on all of your favorite podcasting platforms, the biggest two being,
Spotify.
and also Apple. But
Mhm.
wherever you do listen, don't forget to.
Rate, review, like, and subscribe.
That's right, because that is the only way we can get ahead in this world. And then word of mouth, tell your friends. It's spooky season, so it's prime time for listening to spooky podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can watch these films along with us to check off all your horror film needs for
Yep.
the month of Halloween. And then you can also reach out to us on our one social media platform, which is Instagram, and that is at.
At BooBaes Podcast, and that's at BOOBAES, because we're your BooBaes, not your BooBabes.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And until next time, you guys,
Bye, Baes.
happy spooky season.
Happy
Bye,
spookies.
bays.
BooBaes is produced by Rogue Media Network. Executive producers Caitlin Klein, Josh Villalobos, and Mike Hamilton. Producer Mason Gonzalez and Josh Beard. This has been a Rogue Media Network production. In a world where dreams meet reality, there exists a place where your business can flourish. That place is Shopify. Imagine having the power to craft your online store with tools that make it as easy as a gentle breeze. Whether you're an artisan of handmade wonders, a creator of digital treasures, or a curator of the latest trends, Shopify stands by your side. With its customizable templates, seamless integrations, and support that's always there, your dream store is just a heartbeat away. Join millions of visionaries around the globe and let Shopify guide you on your journey. Visit roguemedianetwork.com/Shopify. That's roguemedianetwork.com/SHOPIFY. And embark on your free trial. Shopify, where your commerce dreams come to life.